We all go a little mad sometimes.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
They're here.
Oh, hi. Sorry, I thought we were gonna... I thought the intro was gonna play.
No!
Hi,
Hello there.
I'm Lee, and something about a flower dress.
That's still my thing. I'm Nathan, and I want to be strung up Blood Eagle style. All sexy like. And I don't want to be in the sequel, for sure, because that would be awkward.
Someone's got a Viking fetish. I don't blame you.
Norse mythology reference. And you're listening
Oh, no,
to...
she better don't. Gross, that was so bad. That was so bad. That was terrible.
Oh my god. And you're listening to...
They're here. Podcast.
A discussion
Dissection.
and disembowelment. Literally.
Yeah. Of all things, horror.
Fear.
And the macabre.
So, just a quick side note on all of this shit. You will notice that the audio quality has significantly improved all of a sudden.
And not just because of my larynx surgery, but...
Did the ice cream help? Did it go down well?
Yeah, I have the old one in my bag. We are back in studio, ladies and gentlemen, and all in between.
Love that.
We're together again.
We're together. The terrible twosome is back.
Reunited, and it feels so good.
Come on, Harmony.
Yeah, we're like in the same room as each other.
We're
With this
so
fake.
excited. Oh my god, I've never been so close to you, yet so far. We're still 6 meter distance though.
Just because I'm a huge dick, there's no room left, so.
Well, I was gonna say your ego is taking up most of the space, but okay, if you're...
No, that's the head of my dick.
Well, pressing onwards, seeing as we're... How quickly we got onto the subject of your penis.
What can I say? It's the elephant in the room. It's not the only big-headed, four-armed elephant in the room.
Yeah. we have a Ganesh, in case you're wondering what he's talking about, for context. Well, you know, considering the fact that you're wearing glasses, I'm presuming you're talking about how shiny my bald head is.
I couldn't take it.
How do you like them apples?
So, skål.
Skål! And happy Midsommar! We are celebrating, just this past week, of course, we are celebrating Midsommar, which is, of course, the celebration of the summer equinox, the longest day of the year. And yeah, it was also a fan request. So someone did ask for this, and we are delighted to finally get to it. We did plan on doing this, and even long before the request came in, we did plan on doing this specifically during Midsommar.
Yeah, it was on the list.
Yeah, and it was, we just had to wrap our brains around it because, how can I put this? Midsommar 2019, directed, of course, by Ari Aster. Written and directed by Ari Aster. These specific films with him, they're not an easy watch. And you also need to be in, like, the right frame of mind to watch them as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like, this is, like, immediately when I saw it, I was like, okay, this is, like, the kind of sister movie, the kind of, like, light half of Hereditary.
Yeah.
Like, the sun and the moon to each other.
Yeah.
Because, like, not only kind of, like, thematically, they're kind of similar. It's all about kind of, like, grief and emotion and how people... like go through that, but like visually they are kind of the yin to the yang of each other. Like one is very dark, very ominous, that being Hereditary, and this being one of those kind of rare cases for a horror movie where we get like it takes place kind of exclusively during the day because they're in Sweden during kind of like midnight sun, all that kind of stuff. They even bring that up where it's like it's fucking 9 p.m. it should be dark, but yeah, I think we both like kind of fell in love with this movie, and it's been like highly talked about since it's come out. There's a lot of like theory and who's the good guy and who's the bad guy, or if there even is one. So yeah, I'm excited to kind of get into that today because I think we're gonna have a scrap later. I think we're on opposite sides of the of the maypole.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I agree with you there. Ari Aster has said that this is the companion piece to Hereditary, and it's exactly what you said there. They do thematically, they attack both the sames. They attack both the same themes thematically. If that, yeah. Like they deal with grief, and however, like I think I even said this to you before, is that where Hereditary deals with grief in the worst way possible, Midsommar deals with grief in the best way possible.
Kind of like to the extreme. I feel like they both show like how far you can push emotion, and how kind of like how big of an impact emotion has on on your life. But also like those two movies, they just give us like a killer female lead. Like Ari Aster really said, like, my requirement is like I need you to be able to cry your fucking lungs out. Oh, but it's so good. Like you were even saying last night, you were kind of like, oh, listening to Danny like cry or whatever, and I really enjoyed
just over
that.
The phone, like that
like
scene when he's like, oh god,
it's so good. And like I really do take my my hat off to Florence Pugh. I really enjoy her as an actress.
Yeah, she's amazing.
And she makes it very, very easy to be on her side in this movie.
Yeah. I would also go as far to say that even Jack Reyner's character Christian, who is the shitty gaslighting,
who they keep calling Christian.
Christian.
They never say Christian, so it's Christian. I'm like, oh.
And I always think that like, even though he's like, he is the total fucking asshole, like he's the worst person imaginable, but by the end of it, he's the pitiable character. Yeah. Because all of the, like, now that we thought there were unturned tables, we had turntables.
Yeah.
And he's pathetic by the end.
Well, just as a thought,
trash. Yeah.
You'll notice we have a soundboard, people. We are going to use it.
Shitty rattlesnake noise. Now, oh God, with Christian, let him burn.
In more ways than one.
Yeah, for real. Like, let me be Nero in this instance and say burn the Christian.
Yeah. It's quite literally that, because that was actually something I was going to talk about, was the fact that it is obviously consistent with being pagan beliefs, but like literally burning a Christian.
Yeah, the I was going to say
that thought crossed my mind.
Yeah, exactly. Like kind of the his name being Christian was like not lost on us.
Yeah,
especially because he's kind of like he's kind of the antagonist for most of the movie, even though like people, I've like seen a lot of arguments of like, yeah, but like he's just like in a shitty relationship. It's like, yeah, but like you could have broken up with her first, and like there's like, we'll kind of get into all that. Like I feel like a lot of kind of the shittier parts come like right at the start. We get like a little bit of exposition with him and his friends and stuff, where they're like, just break up with her.
Yeah.
Cause like you're obviously not enjoying this either. And he's like, yeah, but like, what if I break up with her and can't get her back? And I'm like, then you're kind of just stringing her along.
Yeah.
It's like less cruel to just get it done with. Exactly, you know?
Exactly.
And they've been together for a long time. I always forget that they're together 4 years.
4
they even
years,
make that like kind of point at the end. They don't seem like that.
Yeah, they're very separate. Obviously, like all the sort of interactions that Danny has, sorry, I'm skipping ahead, but like all the interactions that Danny does have, whether it be via email or phone or text or whatever, anything to do with Christian is always seen from an angle where he is out of view.
Yeah.
So it's very, we're only getting one side of this story, and obviously like physically on screen he's checked out. Yeah. And he even says that when like you just said there, it's like they've been together 4 years, he says 3.5. So when the whole thing that we'll talk about now, when the whole accident, murder, suicide happens, he's, from that moment on, he's done with the relationship, and he's just
like, it's an obligation.
Yeah, like he's
trapped.
there for being, he's trapped. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, like basically we get this whole kind of story of, it's a breakup story. It's essentially a breakup story, and when you tell someone about this film and they're like, well, how is it a breakup story? But then like they realize like all the kind of like minor things that happen throughout the film are all the stages of a breakup.
Yeah.
And whether how good or bad you view the ending obviously can be seen as if it's a good ending to a relationship or if it's a bad ending to a relationship.
See, what gets me is that, like, Ari Aster has said that this is kind of like, this was written at least around the time where he was going through, like, a really bad breakup. Like, this is his way to kind of work through things. I think he even did the same thing with Hereditary. Which is why I think these kind of two pieces kind of, like, really stand, like, really well together, because they're both written out of a time of, like, anguish and, like, shit. And people always say that it's, like, tragedy always, like, breeds, like, the best art, you know? And like, I've never met a genuinely happy artist in my whole life. I've never met a genuinely happy artist whose work I enjoy in my life. Let's just say that. Like, we all got freakish shit going on. But, yeah, if I was his ex, after I watched this, I'd be like, what the fuck, bro? Like, did I really hurt you that bad? You want to burn my ass?
I think he actually said, during one of his interviews that this is one of his, like sort of a fantasized version of the way he could have ended a relationship. And like, not in that, but just like the how it happened, not like the physical burning of someone, but like it's a sycophantic way of you know, the way you have an argument with someone and then you always think about later on, like, oh, I could have said this to that person. This is something along those lines to Ari Aster.
Yeah, like, it's film. Like the freedom to just feel like whatever you want to and not feel bad about it because it's on a movie. Again, like, I think, like, we can say this, like, horror has the license to do that and have it not be a weird thing. Like, again, like, we'll get into it, but like, I've had so many A24 film group, if any of y'all hear this, fuck you guys and grow up. No, seriously,
we love you though, follow us.
I've had, like, way too many arguments with people, or way too many, like, seen too many shit on this, where, like, people are like, yeah, but, like, none of the people deserved it, and it's like, it's a fucking movie.
It's a horror movie.
I'll say it, I've said it once and I'll say it again, Midsommar is not a documentary. Get over it.
Not real life events.
You know, it's like, it's supposed to be horrific. Sometimes people don't deserve to get killed, or nobody ever deserves to get killed, I suppose, depending on your kind of moral compass, but like, it's a movie.
It's a fucking movie. It's a horror movie. It has the license to you just like, it has the license to do what it wants. You know, and fuck when anyone has an expectation of it.
Exactly, like, you shouldn't go into a horror movie with a moral compass, otherwise, like, a horror is not for you. I think, like, so. When
you said that, like, people, like, go in, it's like, oh, I don't want to be scared. I was like, well, then fuck off.
That's the point.
Going to a fucking horror movie.
It's the entire point.
Yeah.
It's like us now who have, like overused our, like, like, whatever, like, the, like, scared equivalent to, like, serotonin is. We've, like, burned out that receptor. That it takes a lot now to, like, actually freak us out. Yeah. I'm jealous of people like that, though, that can go to a horror movie and it can, like, really, like, freak them out. Like, they're afraid, like, before they even go in.
Yeah.
You know, I miss that.
I don't remember the last time I was scared to go in and see a horror movie. I think the last time I was scared to see something was Pan's Labyrinth by Guillermo del Toro. That was literally, like, I think the last time I was scared of anything. And the Pale Man with the hands.
I love it. We have to cover that one day.
Yeah.
That was actually going to be one of the options for our Foreign Cinema Month.
Foreign Cinema Month, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I think, like, maybe we could do possibly some kind of Guillermo del Toro or something like
we could do it. It's in the books. We might think about it. If you guys
want to hear that, let us know. Yeah. Say it in the comments. Stop commenting for us to promote our fucking podcast on these damn fucking Instagram pages.
We're not interested. Promote it on, what is it, Empire something?
It's always Empire Records or some shit, and you go and they've got no followers and, like, 3 posts or some shit like that. We also got, like, what was it the other week? We got some message telling us to go subscribe to some guy's OnlyFans.
Yeah.
But, like, not even from the guy himself, from some girl that was like, you should see the size of this guy's cock. Go and give him £3 a month so you can look at it, bro. Like, great. I'll subscribe if you do.
Oh my god. Pay me, and we will do it.
So, Midsommar.
So, yeah, back to the burning of non-pagan people. Yeah, I was saying to you last night, I was only, like, 4 minutes into this film, and I was already, like, I don't want to watch this, because it's...
Yeah, you're like, damn.
It's just very emotionally distressing, and, like... Someone said, like, it's like you're minutes away from having a literal bad trip to every single turn in this movie.
Yeah.
And, like, if anything, you like a switch and immediately you're spiraling. And It's exactly the same for a viewer who watches these films, like especially Ari Aster's films. It's like these films fuck with your, not just your emotions, but your mental cognition almost. You know?
I get that more so with Hereditary. This one I feel like, and like I think last night you were kind of like, what the fuck, when I was like, this movie was hilarious. Like, 'cause, like when I went to go see this, I don't know, I guess my screening were all fucking sadists and loved seeing people suffer, but like there's a couple of moments in this movie that I think like bring a little bit of like levity to it, where like that doesn't happen in Hereditary. Hereditary is like exclusively dark, and like there have been a couple of times where I've been like, quote, in the mood to go put Hereditary on, and I'm like, oh god damn.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm like it sounds stupid, and I don't even know if I'm like kind of that person, but I feel like I'm like inviting something bad in by watching Hereditary sometimes, like just putting myself kind of like in that like mindset. But with Midsommar, I found this movie so funny. It's like when they first get to the village, and Danny's like, I love what you're wearing. He's like, my frock is very girly. Huh? I like, there's like just a couple of little moments like that like the cult, even though they're quote unquote the bad guys, they're kind of our everybody else is our straight man compared to them.
Yes,
like they're not acting maliciously, and they're not acting scary. Like they don't come across as threatening.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And like even the first act of violence that we see is a suicide. It's not a murder or anything. Well, I suppose they do smash their heads with mallets, but that's because that guy is like suffering.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Also, that guy, the guy who we see jump off, is kind of what was his name again? He was like described as, when he was younger, as like the most beautiful boy in the world, and he's kind of what all anime drawings are based off of when he was younger. I'll stick something up that on like on the story or something. Yeah. But yeah, he's like, there's a whole documentary about him and everything. When he was younger, he was like really, really, really beautiful. Yeah. And it's kind of like, he looks like a Botticelli kind of angel. Like he's real soft, but yeah, I think that's kind of cool that he's in here and has like a big influence on animation. Whatever.
Well, the first thing I kind of really want to, you know, get into rub the scalp of this film, I guess, guts. You know, skin the fool, as we would say, in the biz, is like how visual.
Oh, in the industry, to skin the fool.
Skin the fool.
But it's
Swedish
fool,
accent.
FJO LL.
Yeah.
Fool. Yeah.
Love you, Swedish people. No, the visual storytelling of this film is a masterpiece.
It's a fairy tale.
It is a total fairy tale. It is beautifully shot, and it's not just because it's shot. Obviously, it's a horror film in the daytime, but it's not just daytime. It's like bright daytime. Like the whites are whiter than my white towels have ever been.
Yeah, like the grass and the sky and everything is so like rich, and they kind of like turned the contrast up a little bit. Yeah. And this is also like a drug movie. Yeah. And this is kind of like one of, if not kind of the most kind of accurate depiction of like psychedelics that I've ever seen, at least from like my experience with psychedelics, which is like, you know, I've been there, dipped my toe in the water. But like I have enough experience, and kind of it's the seeing things breathe, and to kind of see the things like flowing together, and the like, because like far too often in movies, like some kind of acid or like shroom trip ends up being the fucking desert scene from Beavis and Butthead Do America, where it's just a full
over the top
phantasmagoria. It's mandalas everywhere. It's crazy, and it's like it's nearly never like that. How very camp, wonderfully camp experience. But like, no, it's just the kind of seeing how things kind of expand and breathe and flow, and there's kind of movement and everything. Like I loved that, and that was one of the moments in the cinema where everybody kind of started to like giggle a little bit. I think everybody was like, oh shit. Yeah. And like I remember turning to Lena and being like, bro, I've seen that shit before, for real.
Been there, done that, seen it, lived it.
But for real, I think like this movie is very much so definitely influenced by hallucinogens, because that's the thing with hallucinogens. Everything just kind of is there's like a wash of like warmth over everything. It's just kind of turned the saturation up on everything. Everything's a little bit more
brightness,
sweetened.
the contrast is like reduced in some parts. Like even like that midnight sun part where it gets slightly dim. That becomes like you know the way when you're in the sun and then you go inside and it's darker than it actually is.
Yeah, you always
because your
have to like
eyes need
adjust
to
again.
readjust.
Mm.
That's how I imagine, like how it is when you view that film from the dark part of the day
Yeah.
to the light part of the day. Is your eyes need to readjust, especially during the Atastupa when like,
It's all
that's
like
just
bleached
bright.
white stone.
Yeah,
Everybody's wearing
crazy.
white. Everybody is white. And the stone that they're at is like it reminds me of like a salt mine or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just like not sand. It's just pure white, like bleached stone.
Yeah.
I love it though.
I really, really, really appreciate Pavel. I'm gonna stab this last name, Pogolski, whatever. He's amazing. And
Pavel.
He's worked with Pavel. He has worked with Ari Aster since Hereditary, and even before that on his previous things like The Strange Thing About the Johnsons.
Oh God.
Girl, that movie. If you want us to like review that, let us know because that film is fucked.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I absolutely love like his cinematography, his lighting, his correction of film, the angles. It's gonna sound so pretentious, but like the angles and like, even that like 360 degree twist from the car.
They do that a
to
couple
the
of
sign
times.
of the Helsingland.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And they have a couple of shots where it's like you're looking into a mirror but you don't know it straight away. There's like a scene where Danny's talking to one of her other friends, which to me is weird because that's the only other indication that she has anybody besides
The guys.
Christian.
Yeah.
Christian. And that's like never brought up again.
Yeah.
You know? But it's like a scene where she's like walking towards the mirror and then it like flips. She like opens the cabinet.
Yeah.
Or it's even the transition between like getting on the flight in Sweden.
Love that.
Where Pele is like, I had a family too, and she's like, oh,
I can't do
gross,
that.
and then just kind of like gets up to leave. And she sells those moments really, really well,
Yeah.
where it's just the kind of like you can see that she's starting to like get the like cry kind of bubbles in her chest kind of thing, and she goes into the bathroom and it's the plane, and then we get the sound of the plane like escalating off, which is that kind of thing that like you know, that like increase in pitch that kind of never like gives off or finishes, that puts you at anxiety because there's no payoff. It's just constant build up. I loved that. And yeah, getting to the Helsingland where it's like there's like a literal like flip, like her world has been turned upside down, literally.
It's like it's like that whole kind of down the rabbit hole moment.
Yeah.
And I love it. I really do. And like the shots, that shot of when the two at a stupa, like I want to say grandparents because we know their age. They're
Just
72.
the elders.
The elders, and they slice open their hand and they up against the I was gonna say
The
Portal
rune.
Dalma, the rune, and I think that because that's on the soundtrack cover of it, and I think it's that one shot is beautiful. And then I also love obviously the flower slug dress,
Showing too much booby.
her like dragging herself crying around the
Sorry, I
flames.
just called it so
It's
inappropriate.
just so good, and
Yeah.
it's beautiful and everything. I love this film. I think it's beautifully shot.
To me, it is kind of like if Disney had made The Wicker Man.
The Wicker Man.
Yeah. And that's
Totally
the thing.
agree.
This movie actually gets like kind of a bad rep by being just a quote rip off of The Wicker Man. But it's like most people making that statement have never seen The Wicker Man. The Wicker Man is nowhere near as like fantastical or as colorful or anything. I think like people take the last 10 minutes of The Wicker Man and be like,
And
oh,
they just
Midsommar
run with
totally
that.
copied that.
Yeah.
But also like The Wicker Man didn't invent paganism.
Yeah.
The Wicker Man did not invent maypoles or
Successfully,
any of
it
this
was
shit.
done better in Midsommar than the maypole was done.
I think so, because the maypole is kind of
They
just
run
people
into
like
each other.
yeah, it's really bad and it gets completely tangled up.
Yeah.
It's so fucked. But like I think like this movie definitely gets compared to The Wicker Man a lot, and I think that's just because like The Wicker Man is kind of like the equivalent of Jaws to shark movies, or the equivalent to The Exorcist of possession movies. It's just kind of like the one that put the genre on the map.
Yeah. Folk horror.
And I did enjoy this more than The Wicker Man.
I would say I'm only more partial to the Wicker Man because of Christopher Lee, I think. But like I still absolutely love. I stan Ari Aster for what he did and how well he did it, and I know he actually said at the very end. I watched an interview with him, and it was like an after screening of Midsommar.
Yeah.
And he was talking about like the ending and the burning pyre and all of that kind of thing, and he was saying it's like the most obvious result that you knew was coming.
Yeah.
Like everything else before it was a complete surprise, but you knew the burning part was going to happen.
Yeah.
And
But to me, I'm like, these are just kind of like common themes that like run in
a sacrifice.
In sacrifice or in paganism in general. It's like there's iconography that kind of has to be used, and I suppose like the Wicker Man was kind of tied to those images just as much as Midsommar is. You know, it just happened to do it first, I guess. You know, but even then, the Wicker Man's not even the first cult movie.
No,
so I think they kind of it's kind of an unfair comparison. I think they're very very different. They're paced differently. They don't even one doesn't even really one doesn't even really take visual clues. Like the Wicker Man is like a procedural. It's like a police movie, whereas this is like very much so what I remember the Wicker Man being, which is more fantastical, more kind of fairy tale-ish. And I think like this gets a lot of comparisons to like Wizard of Oz. And there's that poster. I'm actually not even sure if it's official. You know the...
Oh, with Dorothy crying?
No, that's the... Oh, shout out to I Sold My Soul to King Payman on Instagram. They make like lots of kind of like fan posters of A24 movies, and they're always really stunning.
Yeah.
But no, it's the one... It's like that old original Wizard of Oz poster where it has everybody on the side, and it's like it looks kind of music festival-y. I'll stick it up on the pod. I think that's the one I'm going to choose.
Yeah.
Because I actually like that one more than the Florence Pugh up at the side crying. Although that was the poster that I first saw, and I remember being like, ooh, like what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, the first thing I really kind of like talking about is the themes that kind of come up throughout this film. There's like obviously imploding relationship. There's self-harm. There's indoctrination, which is obviously, I mean, it's a cult. It's literally them trying to pull.
They're literally brainwashing her, yeah.
And then you obviously have rape. You have all these kinds of things that some of them are subliminal, some of them are subtext, some of them are very much text.
Some of them are shown completely to you in the opening scroll.
Well, literally that whole cold open, and then you have that tapestry.
Quite literally cold open.
Yeah, it's literally
anytime I watch this movie, I'm always kind of like, oh, because it starts out with snow, which I guess like there's a lot of symbolism in this, as you kind of just said. But I love the idea that like we start out with a death, and we also start out with a winter, which is to the cult their kind of their symbol of death. Like when you die, that's your winter. I really kind of picked up on that last night. I really enjoyed it.
I really love the fact that the actual title itself only came up in like a snow dark background. I love that. Like
that shot was gorgeous. Yeah. It's her like crouched over on Christian's lap, and like
crying.
the push out of the like out to the window. I loved that. I remember
really
like seeing this in cinema and being like, okay, where's this gonna go? And A24, thank you, they're very good at like throwing out a trailer that gives you like just a couple of crumbs, like just enough to be like, what the fuck is this? You know, so I was very excited going into this with kind of an open mind, and with no preconceptions or anything.
Admittedly, I have this, it's only because of these two films that whatever Ari Aster does next, which I believe Joaquin Phoenix is a part of, and it's meant to be like a horror comedy per se, I have high expectations now.
I'm so over Joaquin.
Yeah, I'll be fair, like the Joker's had its day, but
to me the Joker now is so cringy.
It's cliche.
I'm like, I don't trust anybody that likes the Joker too much, because they always have like, you want to hear me do the laugh or whatever, and they always pull it out at a fucking party or whatever like that, and it's like, don't reach into your bag, you fucking school shooter.
Oh my god. Moving quickly on about that, let's talk about the murder-suicide. So this is actually another kind of like really long winding shot. I think it's like nearly a minute and a half, 2 minutes long, this shot.
Oh, it is.
Because it starts from like outside, up through the hall, up the stairs, into the bedroom of the parents who have been murdered by carbon monoxide poisoning.
But they're still alive. The dad is still alive.
During the thing?
Yeah, when we see him, like, because we're shown the parents first without actually knowing anything has happened.
Yeah.
The dad is still breathing.
Yeah.
But like, I suppose it actually doesn't matter because they all do die. Yeah.
Yeah, you get a lot of these kind of long winding shots, and there's a lot of them that happen in this film, like even including that scene where Mark is pissing on the ancestral tree, and they talk about just before that, it's that whole argument like who's going to do the thesis better and who should do it first, blah blah blah. That scene is nearly 3 minutes long. It's just one continuous 3-minute shot. I love that, and I didn't even notice it until someone had pointed it out to me, and I was like, holy shit.
Even that opening, so like, to when we're seeing the parents and stuff like that, it starts off in like upside down in the reflection of the boot of an open car, and we just kind of see like the blue and red of the police lights and stuff, and then they kind of pan away from it. Yeah, and we get the hose, and we get all the like snow and stuff like that with the blue and red. I thought it was really, really gorgeous.
Yeah.
But like, that's a creative one. Like, I've seen the like lock yourself in the garage, turn the ignition on, but to like have
it in
the
your mouth
and then tape it across.
Yeah,
and then her face is all kind of fucked up as well.
Yeah,
her
eyes
cheeks
have
gone like
bloated, and one eye is like
it's gone white,
popping out or something.
Yeah, it's like completely fucked. But it's great, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
and she's bipolar, the sister, so there's kind of an element of like, she's done this before, let's not worry. And from Christian, who I feel like I get that like real world you want to try and de-escalate, but he kind of blames Danny, where he's like, yeah, but she only acts like this because you let her, and she's like, I don't let her.
The
She's
first of
bipolar.
many times that he blames Danny for things.
It directly blames her, and he's like, yeah, but you do though, and it's like, what the fuck, bro? Yeah. And I think immediately, like, we're kind of set up to not like Christian, and I go with the movie. I never end up liking Christian. Even at the end of this, I don't even feel
pity for him.
I don't even feel bad.
Yeah.
Like, this to me is one of those good for her movies. Like, we've said that a million times, but like, I don't know. I think like this is kind of the best that she could have hoped for. Yeah. In this movie, because the dudes she arrived with were pieces of shit as well. Yeah, besides Pele, but Pele also.
But Pele
did all like, that.
Yeah, he was. So that's even in the actual tapestry itself. Yeah. Like, you literally see the entire film spelled out for you. Like, I mean, it's practically a roll credits moment. Like, you've seen the whole film in less than 10 seconds. It shows the death, Pele sitting up in a tree, literally pipering all the kids.
Oh yeah, Nathan Pipe.
It's absolutely crazy. And then, like, you see the bear, and then obviously the son smiling. The
way they reference that bear when they're walking through the village, and he's like, "What is that?" And he goes, "It's a bear." And then they just walk away and don't even refer to it later. But even when we get that scroll, we get the like, we get the harp music that makes it feel like
a fairy tale.
It does. It's like you know, remember in like old original Disney movies like Sleeping Beauty and stuff, the way they opened with a book. Yeah, that's what it made me think of, and it really got me into. Like, ooh, it got me excited when I first went to go see this. To like see what was happening.
It's interesting that you mentioned, like, even on the phone, like, you know, the way she turns around and says to him that, you know, oh, I love you, I'm so lucky to have you, and then he just goes, I love you too. And then it's just like you get the feeling that he looked at his friends like, yeah, like he took the phone away for a second. Yeah, exactly. You just know from the word go, he's a piece of shit. He's a piece of shit boyfriend. And especially like during that shot, that like pizza place that they smoked a J or whatever, and then they're just going for food, and Mark is like, oh, I just want to fuck a load of girls. And Pele's like, think of all the hot Swedish girls you're gonna see in summer. Yeah. And like, Josh is just, who's like completely self-obsessed with himself. He's self-absorbed into his thesis.
That's what I think is Josh's sin as well. Josh is not antagonistic to anybody.
He just doesn't care.
But he just doesn't care. Yeah. And he could have told all them about Aristupa and doesn't, which I think is fucked up, knowing that like Danny in particular. Yeah. And he didn't even say anything because they ask him as well. They ask him for information, and he kind of just like
holds it back. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's so fucked. Like, you know, that would have been like super fucked up for her to see. But also, I would have told my friends about that, like off the jump.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I think that that whole like little diner scene that the guys have is very like, it explains everything about their characters almost straight away.
Oh yeah, they're all unlikable.
Yeah.
And it's weird, even though Pele is technically the one that like sets all this into motion, he's the one that we like the most because he's shown to be the least antagonistic. And I've seen that this movie is kind of like a good gauge on how like open you are to being like indoctrinated into a cult. You know?
Yeah.
Because it's like you're
vulnerable.
Yeah, you are, and like you feel
and they love bomb you. That's how cults get into your head, is they're so strong about making you feel loved and
important
and part of and important, and they like, because I watched this
keeps
about,
trying to do that to Danny though. He keeps trying to like,
he's like, do you feel held by him?
Yeah, I remember being like, oh shit, he's shooting his shot, and she's like, Christian could go back any moment.
Yeah, she even says that, and he's like, yeah, but like, does he actually love you?
And he's the one that tells Christian that he missed her birthday.
Yeah,
because he forgot.
But he's also like, Pele, in my opinion, is just as gaslighting as Christian is.
Yeah.
Because Pele just wants to get into Danny's vagina.
Yeah.
He wants
but
to
he's
screw
also
the
kind
shit
of like
out of her.
gaslighting, like, oh god, this is gonna sound pretentious, but he's kind of gaslighting the audience. Because we're supposed to feel safe with him. Because I don't know, he's like the one that like knows all the shit, you know. He's like in charge, and he's kind of funny and charming and cuter than Christian, but not that cute.
Any human chair of the week?
First
First live in-person human chair of the week goes to...
No.
Oh, wow.
The bear.
Oh my god! The bear. Wow.
What, you think my options are Mark, the kid that looks like fucking Sid from Toy Story, the dude over here that's studying for his thesis, a dude named Christian, or a Swede.
Or a Swede. Okay.
A Swede who's got like super into me and super wants me to be like the queen of his fucking village for a while.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, bro.
Oh my god. And I just...
Yeah, everybody in this movie is very meh looking. Oh, Florence Pugh. Florence Pugh is my human chair of the week.
Wow.
Yeah. I think she's very sexy. She's got like something with her voice where it's like...
She can sing too.
Yeah, that little like...
Yeah,
at the end,
sing.
I love that.
Yeah.
But her voice is kind of like a couple of octaves down. It's a little bit like kind of grainy. I love that.
For Sade.
No, Jesus Christ.
What a reference.
Oh yeah, that's what I want to see. I want to see Florence Pugh in the Sade fucking biopic. No, but I love Florence Pugh. I'm gonna give her just as much praise in this movie as we did Toni Collette in Hereditary.
Yeah, robbed,
for real. I don't know what it is. Like, horror movies are horror movies. I also think there's more horror movies than there is of any other genre on the planet. No joke. Because people just crank them out like that, you know? It's like, why the fuck doesn't horror get the recognition? You know why? I think it's because genuinely horror would blow everything else out of the water.
Of course it would.
And the Academy loves to fucking... The Academy, are you listening? I grabbed the mic.
Oscars, are you listening? BAFTAs, are you listening?
Okay, just because something is 3.5 hours long and there's no talking in it does not make it
a good movie.
Excellent. Jesus Christ.
Just because something is 3 hours long, black and white, and about the Holocaust does not make it an excellent movie.
But it doesn't though. Do you know what I mean? I think there's this like weird perception of like, let's make it insufferable. People are gonna love it. No, nobody's gonna like it. We're gonna win all the awards though.
Oh, it's so true. I totally agree with this. So, I know Danny ends up becoming much more a shell of a person, like as a result of like Christians obviously manipulating like how do you say it, like his distance, his coldness. He's not like quote unquote held her properly.
Yeah.
Like there's no real support there. So I know Danny, like even through the editing, it was the same with Hereditary. Like even that, I remember that kiss. They were about to kiss in the bed, Toni Collette and the Irish guy. Gabriel Byrne. When they were about to like have this nice minute where they were just about to kiss each other goodnight,
yeah,
it cut away from it. And it was the same with Danny for most of the parts of the film where she's just like, she reveals like how she's really feeling, and she does those deep breaths,
I was actually
like,
going to say,
yeah.
she does a lot, like, because that's kind of like a big theme
Yeah.
in, like, that's kind of like one of the things that like the cult themselves do.
Yeah.
When they're like kind of prepping for something. We see like when the girl is braiding her hair, or when the two elders are about to, they do the like, and Danny does that as well in kind of like a panic attack coping mechanism kind of a way. Like just the
but
one
she
swift
also,
deep breath.
like, when it comes to it, like, it just cuts away from her. Like, I remember even, like, that airplane shot where she's breathing. It gives her, like, maybe 5 seconds, then it cuts away. And it's the same after the Ada Stupa when Christian says, yeah, give yourself 5 minutes. Like, he doesn't even want to deal with her at that point.
Yeah, he's kind of like, see you later, and she walks off by herself and has the, like cry.
She curls into a ball, and then it cuts away again.
Yeah.
It's not giving us enough opportunities to... like, even though we feel for her so much, it's not giving us the opportunity to even hold her in our own brains.
Yeah, like,
you know
she's supposed to be it's weird because she's not emotionally repressed. She's just not supported.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't have an outlet to kind of go, and that's why, like, again, like, it is kind of a good for her movie in my head, but it's like later on, it's like these people are like, you know, we feel your grief. Like, we're here for you. We're gonna share it so it feels easier. You know, same at the Ada Stupa where there's like everybody is screaming in pain.
Yeah.
When the most beautiful man in the world breaks his fucking leg. I love that though.
Pops a blood vessel too.
Well, for 'tis but a scratch. I loved when they show it though. This movie is like. It's not violent, but it's very it like doesn't shy away from showing you shit, especially because it's during the day when they jump off the thing.
You see everything.
We see her fall, and then we see her come
her
back up, and her
face
whole
in slow
face is
motion.
open.
Yeah.
And then he falls down, and he does the like pencil drop where it's just, and you can just hear the like the snap of the leg, and we see that he's just like, and you look down, and his leg is just spaghetti. It's just everywhere.
Yeah.
And they come over with the mallet, and
smack.
When they show that shot of his head just caving in on itself, I remember fully, and I think like these are some kind of the scenes as well that kind of made people laugh, not out of like, haha, that's funny, but out of the like, oh my fucking god, you know, because like they don't like, they like show the whole face caving in.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I loved it.
I think that whole scene is like, you and I are on opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to this film. You said you found it funny.
Not exclusively. Like, I wouldn't
funny
like sell this movie to somebody as funny.
as a comedy.
But there is kind of like lightness in
There's
it.
one particular shot that I always find funny, and it was in that particular moment where Connie and Simon, who are the British couple brought in by, I think his name is Ingmar.
It's Pele's brother.
Pele's brother.
I think they're the only two to bring people back.
Yes.
Everybody else, because we kind of went back and forth with this. Everybody else was coming back from pilgrimage.
Yeah.
So everybody
and I
is
thought
from
they
the
were
village.
all tourists as well, but they weren't. They're just
like there was
people
5 other
returning.
Midsommar movies going on at the same
Yeah.
time, and Danny just happens to be the one for
The one we're
tourists.
focusing on, yeah.
But yeah, I was paying attention to that last night because I wanted to like make sure. 'Cause I think even last time I did it, it was like after a couple of drinks,
Yeah.
and I like didn't manage to do it properly. But he said like these are all people from my village coming back,
Yeah.
and they only brought like 2 or 3 people back each.
Yeah.
So yeah, figured that out last night.
I think the only part that I really found funny was just like after the first the elderly woman jumps off, she does that very cool like skyward raise, and then she collapses or she falls off. But the reaction that Simon and Connie have is the exact reaction I would have.
You people are fucked up.
But there's a woman in the foreground who's got her hands out. She's like,
Oh yeah, she goes,
"What? What's wrong?"
yeah, I know, with the short little blonde bangs. Yeah.
I looked at her and was like, "What?"
But like I
She's
think
seen
like
this all the time.
we were trying to figure. Well, it is though. It's like it's tradition, you know.
Yeah.
And like I love that they had the little explanation of like, it's
We give
it's
our lives.
well, yeah, it's
It's
like,
a circle.
exactly. I love the idea of like, oh, so that's fully my plan. Take me off to Hoth Head when I'm 72. fucking throw me off. But I love that it's like, well, we would rather like why would you waste why would you waste youth on working?
Yeah.
And then like you kind of get into like your old man strength and you work from like 36 to whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then once you get to a point where you can't take care of yourself anymore, instead
You're a
of
burden.
Exactly, and that sounds bad, and it's like nobody ever wants to say that, but it's like when there are like sick people, can be a burden, but it's like I think like it's on the person doing it. They don't want to feel that way, so they kind of get rid of themselves and feel like it all goes back into like a recycling stage, you know.
Yeah, that's actually something that I actually wrote here on my notes, was the fact that afterwards, when Danny is sitting on her own and she's just coming to terms with it, and this is before that deleted scene at the night at the river, which is in the director's cut. I watched the theatrical last
This is
last
with
night.
the girl who cuts the pubic hair off, the ginger
Yes.
girl. Yeah.
So Christian comes over and he tries to half-assed console her,
Yeah.
and she's like, "This is so fucked, I don't want to acclimate." And he turns her and he goes like, "Well, I'm sure like this is how they deal with it." And he creates this cultural relevance argument, whereas like, well, we stick our elderly in old folks' homes.
Yeah.
I'm sure they would find that disturbing. And I was like, but it sounds like an asshole thing to say, but it's true.
But,
Like,
yeah,
it's just
I
a
totally,
different culture, and like,
And that
it
to me
is
is
totally
Simon and
shocking.
Connie's sin. It's
Yes.
the fact that they disrespected a culture.
Yeah.
And like obviously we have no backstory for them. We just know that like Pele went to America and Ingmar went to London and they kind of brought people back, which again is very, very Viking. They even call that out, where it's like, look at all these chicks, and it's like, well, yeah,
they took
Vikings
all
went
the-
to different countries and took the best chicks that they could and brought them back.
Yeah.
To breed with them, you know what I mean? And again, like everybody is beautiful in this movie. I just don't want to fuck anybody. But yeah, I think like I was kind of looking out last night for what everybody's like particular sin was.
Yeah.
And by horror movie standards, everybody kind of does something to kind of bring it onto
Deserve
themselves.
what they have.
Yeah. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with victim blaming in a horror movie, because
Yeah.
you're a victim just for being there.
This is something that I didn't know whether I should bring up or I should, like, because you had mentioned, I think someone had mentioned something that it's about, it can be seen as a racist angle as well.
I can
And
see that. I don't think that's in
in
the
my-
movie. I think you could read that into
That's
it.
I was
though.
just about to say, it's like, I don't even think that it's an actual theme that Aster may have actually thought of.
I mean, I think it's just kind of
something that
inevitable when
if
you have like a
are
Viking.
looking for it,
Yeah.
you'll find it. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's just kind of like, it kind of comes with the territory of like Viking, kind of savagery, that kind of idea, you know. Like people really like to like glamorize the Vikings. It's like, yeah, the Vikings came over here and
But
kind
they
of
plundered, they raped, they killed.
They were horrible people.
They were terrible.
But they also
people.
kind of saved the Irish population. But
They
like,
did, yeah.
God doesn't give with both hands. Let's just say.
Yeah.
So like I think like,
He
and that
takes
isn't.
one hand in front and
Yeah.
then circle jerk. That's pretty much how it is.
But like, my God gives with all six hands. No, but I think like I think you could write an interesting paper on that.
You can, yeah.
But I don't think that Ari Aster had that like in the concept.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to like the whole idea of race and this, because I've been told that the Harga can be seen as like a white supremacist or racist group because there's only white people there. But to me, in a way, not because I'm just saying that I'm white and I want to see white people or any shit like that, but to me,
not all white people.
but to me, it only makes sense. They are a traditional Swedish commune.
Yeah.
So it only makes sense that, of course, they're going to be white. And just because the people coming into it were of darker skin tone and they died does not make it a racist motive. And some people can, and I can understand if you want to read into it that way, but to me, that's just someone digging for meaning where I don't think it existed.
Well, the idea of keeping something pure and like only
has existed in white culture, yeah.
But, well, kind of like in all cultures, but it's like like that is whether intentional or non-intentional. It's like you see it as a supremacy thing, where it's like,
Yes.
well, we're not going to have you involved in here,
Yeah.
because we see ourselves as supreme. And I understand. And again, it's like I'm not out here trying to be like whatever. It's like movies have to have a villain. You know what I mean? It's like villains don't always have to be good people. I in fact rather like it when villains don't have some kind of redemption, or like when somebody is just exactly. Like I don't like the kind of Disneyfication, live action remakeation of Disney like villains now. I like when Cruella de Vil is just like
the beginning.
But for real, I like when Cruella de Vil is a cunt. I like when fucking Ursula is literally a monster.
Yeah.
And I like when Scar is Jeremy Irons.
Yeah.
Like don't try and like give me like a redemption arc. But like. See, at first I didn't read into this with any kind of like race kind of anything really, except for I suppose like there is kind of like a thought in your head when you see a group of like specifically only one race where you're kind of like, what's going on here? But it's also like you brought that up to me the other day. It's also not the first time I've seen that theme be read into this movie. Well, not even so much theme. I think theme gives it kind of like a bigger space than there's there. But I think like I think you could put together some small pieces of evidence, at least historically, because again with Vikings, like I think now anybody who kind of claims themselves to be a Viking goes hand in hand with racism. It just usually is. I think like all of that has been kind of associated with like some racist shit now. But I don't really think that it's there. It doesn't really affect the movie in a way, I don't think.
Oh no, not at all. I don't think any type of like supremacy vibe is like would be integral to the plot, because the people who do i.e. the outsiders, when they come in, like all of them are killed. Yeah. Like you said to me, like the only reason why Dany survives is because she was the last one standing as the May Queen. Yeah, like I believe that Dany she would have been killed. Yeah, I think that Dany. I think that Dany could have died. Yeah. I don't think that this whole thing was set up for around Dany. Yeah. You know, because otherwise, why wouldn't they have just made her May Queen? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like if they spoiler alert. Don't fucking watch the movie. But like I think like. Yeah, there could have been a chance that Dany could have lost, or you know, if Dany's sister hadn't killed herself, she might have been in a different state of mind and might not have even gone to Sweden. Yeah, you know, it's like I think that like a lot of this is kind of happenstance. Yeah, good, well, not happy happenstance, but like for a horror movie. Well, yeah, for a horror movie, her being the final girl, seems less like a shitty situation. Yeah. Than like Sydney with all of her friends lying around her dad, you know, because none of those people were her friends. In fact, they like treated her badly. Yeah. I think kind of particularly Mark. Mark is the one that like pisses me off, and I Will Coulter, the actor. Poulter, yeah. Oh, I don't enjoy him in things. He always just seems to be very like weaselly. It's the face. It's he just seems to like. The whole time, the eyebrows. He looks like he's smelling shit. Yeah, like all the time. I dislike that actor. Yeah, but like he hates Dany more than Christian does. Yeah, like he really doesn't like her. He doesn't even hide it. No, when he like that scene when she reveals that she's coming to Sweden in their like apartment. Can I talk to you for a second? Can I go talk to you? Like, be subtle. You know, like you could. You know, and like he even like it was so subtle, and I noticed it, and I thought it was so great. It was like, again, it's just Aster's attention to detail, that when Mark says, "Can you just check this paragraph for me?" He puts the laptop down, stands up, then picks the laptop back up and walks out. And I like, there's like just you could have done detail. It here, yeah. But no, you wanted to like take me to the room, and then I'm kind of like. Ooh, what's the... But then again, this kind of like all goes back to me as to like why Christian is the shittiest person in this movie. Because I think everyone, obviously apart from Dany, I think everyone is a shitty person in this film. But everybody. Christian in particular, because I'm like, Christian invited her without telling any of the friends. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then he made it... And then made it as if she's the problem. Yeah. Basically gaslighting everybody around him by being like, oh, I told her you guys said that she should come, but she's not going to come anyway. Mm-hmm. But I did invite her.
And then she gets there and she's like, am I like running your trip? And they're all like, no.
Yeah.
But they have to. But it's
you
like,
can't say no now, you know?
yeah. And
Yeah.
like, that's why just like with Christian, I just feel like, ugh. Like, but he's a shitty person to everybody that like is around him.
Yeah.
You know, versus like everybody else. Like with, what's his name again? The person who's actually there to study. What's his name?
Josh.
Josh, yeah.
The guy who literally goes there because he's studying.
Yeah, like he's the only person that
Midsommar.
actually needs to be there.
Yeah.
Like he's there for
Everyone else is just along for the ride.
exactly. Like
Yeah.
they even say that. And he, like, his sin, I suppose, I guess, is not even the kind of like self-absorption. It's the for breaking into the temple and taking photos of the thing with the flash on. Those photos wouldn't even be decent
Yeah, true.
at all. You got a flash on with a book that's like a foot in front of you.
Yeah.
And I think even in that scene we get Mark, and like that made me laugh. Like,
so that whole thing I think is absolutely brilliant because like I mean like you said there earlier, like everyone deserves to die because they did shitty things.
At least
so,
horror movie
Mark
wise.
pisses on the ancestral tree where literally hours earlier the two Atastupa suicides had been cremated and then their ashes scattered across that tree. So Mark,
Yeah, I didn't even realize that until like watching it back again. Where I
you
was
can
like,
look on the ground and it's
because I
all
understand
grey
that
ash.
like yeah, like it's the
Yeah.
ancestral tree. But then I remember being like, oh shit! Like watching it first in the cinema, I was kind of like, well, he wouldn't have known that. But then I'm like, no, but like, oh, but he was asleep. He was asleep during the
Yeah,
Arstupa.
he missed all of that. Yeah.
Whatever, go piss in the woods somewhere. Don't piss that in the middle
Yeah,
in front
so,
of
like,
everybody.
The idea is like, I mean, then Ulf, that guy who is obviously the guy who was wearing Mark's face and
Oof.
also his penis and legs.
Uh-huh.
If you actually notice, he's not naked from the waist down. He's literally wearing Mark's bottom half, and that's an actual Viking.
I was going to say, there's an Icelandic, the witch pants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the witch pants. Yeah, that's it. And I think there's an actual picture. If you actually look up,
I've seen it.
Thing, you can actually
Shout out to Bjork's Vault of Dunk memes. I've seen it.
God, it's crazy, and the fact that when Josh goes in there, like it's directly. I literally have it written down directly against the warnings that the high priest gives them.
They say it when they first get to the village or whatever, or that where they're like, "What's that?" And he's like, "That's a secret temple, but nobody goes in there. Like nobody's allowed in there."
Yeah.
And he sneaks in. Yeah, and he like had the plan and everything because he went to sleep with
shoes on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Freak. What a fucking
Oh,
loser.
gross.
Low life freak. But yeah, goes to like sneak and do it or whatever like that. But I'm like, you could have gotten all that information from these people anyway.
Yeah, and also Ruben is there. He's like literally
That's where he
sleeping
sleeps.
in the room, and I love this because you can see the Ulf wearing Mark's face in the reflective. I think it's a mirror or a window.
It's like a window, but so the geometry and kind of layout of this building confuses me.
Yeah,
because at the end,
it's very gothic and angular. I love it.
It's gorgeous. Yeah, it's like if you haven't seen it, it's kind of like one of the icons from this movie. It's just like a big yellow triangle in the middle of a field. But at the end, where everybody's getting burned, it just looks like a big teepee. Like it's just an empty thing. But here it looks like there's like Ruben's bed and like this what looks like a police, like the one-way glass where like the detectives are on one side and the whatever is on that. That's what it kind of looked like to me. Also, Ruben, we didn't point that out. Ruben is like this like an oracle. Yeah, the oracle. But he's like the subject of like intentional inbreeding to get kind of
his, like the priest says, his mind is unclouded by normal cognition,
which is weird. It's kind of like a weird trope of like
mentally
of people with kind of
abled people.
Kind of being like like as if they're like
you can also hear him in the background when Josh gets whacked over the back of the head with a mallet. You can hear him moaning. I think he didn't expect that to happen. Or like he was surprised by it or something, because it's not, because like we're looking up at the guy wearing Mark's face, and
at first when you look at it, it
like,
kind of
scared.
Didn't even cop that it was supposed to be Mark's skin, because it's not like there is Mark. What's wrong with his face? It's just a face stretched out over.
Ulf, yeah.
Ulf.
Ulf is a harga.
It's yeah, seeing it stretched over the face was kind of like, hey, who the fuck is that? I remember watching it like at first and being like, is that a creature? Like, is that a zombie? Like, what is it? But like, yeah, then we kind of see it. And then at the end, I even said this to you last night, we were kind of like comparing little bits of like what made us laugh, and there's a scene at the end where they're putting Mark down, like they're like planning they kind of just like, because like at the end, like the skin is just stuffed with like straw and like hay, so it's just this like ragdoll of Mark. It's so funny.
Then they top it off with like that jester cap with the bells.
Skin the fuel.
The actual one thing I noticed again, as like top, hats off to Ari Aster for again, like this is another thing that I noticed specifically about that scene. So the camera whips around to look at the Ulf wearing Mark, and there's a split second, this very, very split second, where as the camera pans around very quickly, you can see the person standing there with the mallet in hand. And it was that moment, do you remember I told you about Hereditary, where there was a man standing outside the window while I can't remember his name, is smoking a bong. Peter. Like, you can just see the shoulder and the breath. Yeah. And like the first time I viewed it, I never noticed that. And then it's the same with this. The first time I see it, I never noticed it. And it was spelled out for you right then and there. There was someone else in the room already.
And I kind of went into seeing Midsommar with that kind of expectation. Because like there had been kind of, I think, a year or two between Hereditary and Midsommar coming out. Yeah. Where I was like, okay, what is he going to be like be hiding in this? Like, what's going to be like? Because I missed so much stuff.
Your eyes are peeled more for...
Yeah, and we'll get to the one part. There was one part where I like grabbed Lena's hand and I was like, fucking look at that. It's at the end where they're kind of lifting her up, where we see the sister's face in the bushes. Yeah. Because after the first time they take shrooms, I was looking around a lot for what's going on in the background, because if you notice in the background a lot of the time, it's still all very wavy and breathy and kind of kinetic. Like nothing is very kind of like still, which is kind of how we're used to nature. Everything is it's a very, very trippy movie. I think we were drunk when we had to go see that.
I do think hats off to Henrik Svensson, his production company, and the production design that they did for this film.
Built that whole little village.
Beautiful. And it was actually shot in Hungary. It was not shot in...
I found it out today. Because Sweden's very expensive. And European cities are very expensive to shoot in. It's also kind of like the middle of fucking nowhere, so it doesn't even make a difference. It's just some kind of vaguely European pasture.
Yeah. And I really do appreciate it, because like all of those buildings, they were all there. And Ari Aster actually flew out. It was the day of the release of Hereditary. So he said that in an interview that he never actually got to enjoy his first like film premiere and blah blah blah. Yeah. He was already scouting on location for Midsommar when the premiere like the red carpet for the premiere was on. Yeah. So he was never there, and I was like, that's such dedication. But I also think to myself, like, come on, man.
You could have taken a day.
Give yourself a day off, and I can appreciate the attention to detail. But
the day in the life of an hour.
But there's also the artist. Like we never mentioned this at the beginning, but the artist who does the like what you call it, like the ceiling paintings and
all the
murals
runes
and stuff like that. Yeah. The artist was just, oh god, I'm trying to find her now, the name of this artist, but yeah, like I just really, really love the production design. It's
I would sleep in there. That place was gorgeous.
Yeah,
it's like all
that
white.
Fucking screaming kid. Yeah. Jesus fucking Christ, I hate it.
But I love that dynamic that it's like everybody in this village is raised by everybody. It takes the village people. Which I used to think that saying was about the village people.
Oh my god.
I was a child.
Come on.
Remember being a child, Nathan? The year was 1776.
Glad I never was one.
You were in your third life cycle.
Ragnar person, that's the person, yeah. So he is the murals, all the
Could you have picked a more fucking like European name?
Oh fuck off.
Ragnar.
You're one rock away from Ragnarok here. But like, yeah, he did all the murals, and they were all hand painted by him. And you can find him on Instagram. He's an Instagram artist and blah blah blah. But like, yeah, it's just his murals are beautiful. And there's also, if you look specifically at the ceiling, you'll notice that Payman's symbol is also there. And I loved that nod. I fucking love the fact that I inspire to the fact that I hope he's not looking to do a connected universe kind of thing.
Oh no, I wouldn't think so.
But
I definitely
love
think that
nod.
it's literally like
it's just there.
Yeah.
It's like an Easter egg.
Well, see, to me, because nothing supernatural happens in this movie.
No.
Everything is kind of in theory, where it's like, I suppose even in Hereditary as well, it's like that could all be read as like a schizophrenic kind of nightmare.
Yeah.
Like, we're very definitely given like instances where like it could easily be explained away. But with this, it's like, no, like the villain is people. Like there's no devil, there's no anything. I suppose there's gods in this, technically. But like they're never like alluded to or seen directly. It's all kind of
hearsay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, so
that's actually something that was going to bring up to a next point was the impact that not just Midsommar but Hereditary, both of them have had on the depiction of mental illness and how it's dealt with.
Well, it kind of gets rid of the like the like, ooh, the crazy person is bad because they're crazy, kind of thing, and it actually makes it out that like, hey, guess what? People who have mental illness are way more likely to be victimized in their life than to be the victimizer, you know?
Yeah.
And to show that it's like people really do suffer with that, you know, and that it could be hellish and nightmarish. Like a lot of the stuff in Hereditary has been described by actual schizophrenic, you know, schizophrenic people, seeing like the flame, the kind of blue flame, all that kind of stuff, like auditory hallucination stuff like that. It's like it could be nightmarish, you know?
Yeah.
And like for years and years and years and years, we've always had the thing that it's like Annie Wilkes in Misery, we never get what's quote unquote wrong with her. She's just crazy. You know what I mean? And like those, while entertaining, I guess like could be kind of like harmful, I guess, because you then hear, oh, this is blah blah blah, and they have they're bipolar, and then if your only reference for quote unquote crazy people is movies like this, you're gonna have exactly
preconceptions and
exactly. So I think this the kind of breaking down of the crazy trope is nice.
I've also because I did a little digging based off of this notion that Hereditary and Midsommar give negative views of mental illness and things like that, specifically like bipolar and depression, dealing with this film and trauma, of
Hot
course.
take, depression sucks, guys. You heard it here first.
The person described it as being like, well, it's giving off this air of if you're bipolar and you suffer with depression or things like that, you're going to end up killing your parents and then taking your own life. And I thought that was a little...
But sometimes that happens.
While true, this person painted it as, well, all bipolar people will end up doing this. And I thought that's such an unfair statement to make.
Yeah, that is really unfair. I don't think that's accurate.
Like, I suffer from mood swings. I suffer from depression at times. I wouldn't call myself manic depressive or anything like that, but I would say that I do suffer from that kind of thing.
That's the menopause. You don't have to worry about.
Hot flashes. But like, I just thought that was such an unfair statement to make.
Yeah, I think that's kind of bullshit.
And specifically with Hereditary as well, is that it deals with schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, starving, anorexia, you know, all of these kinds of things, these huge problems in society these days, specifically like nowadays, and this person made the argument that this was how Aster was destroying that kind of mental community.
No.
And I thought that's so unfair. That is such an unfair thing to say, because I'm not going to come out of Hereditary thinking all schizophrenic people are fucking turning into demons.
Yeah, no,
because that's not true.
Yeah.
And I would not turn around and come away from people with bipolar disorder that are suddenly going to fucking up and kill people around them and then kill themselves afterwards.
Yeah.
I would never derive that from that story, but this person made the argument for that.
It's a movie, and I suppose I'm kind of contradicting myself by saying like it's a movie because like movies can be like hugely influential. You know, like a lot of people hate sharks just because of Jaws, which is ridiculous. You know, but like
hint next week.
I think like, you know, I do think that's kind of like a bullshit reading of this because like I think it sounds bad, but it's like it can show how extreme some things can get sometimes. You know what I mean? Like fucking getting a scary email or getting a manic email of a bipolar person could happen. You know what I mean? But also they never turn around and are like, your sister was crazy. They never turn around and say that, you know. It's like sometimes shit is tragic, and again, sometimes like you might not like happens. It, but it's a movie. This movie I don't think has the intent to make you feel happy or good, you know. So I think like you have to take some things with a grain of salt, I guess.
I do. I 100% agree. I just think that when it comes to specific themes that do tend to kind of bring up a modern day, almost SJW kind of look at things, it's almost always to the extreme end.
Well,
it's never the subtle end or just the middle.
It's like nobody gives a fuck about the fodder in the middle.
Exactly.
It's like you need to kind of talk in extremes because it's like you're going through like the worst case scenario kind of version where it's like, yeah, but what if this, and then like what if not? You know, it's just it seems better to go that way. But also I think like all fucking monsters in some way, shape or form have always been like kind of people's way of dealing with what they didn't know as mental illness. You know, it's like we have fucking witches and werewolves and vampires, all the kind of shit like that. It's like people just didn't have the words for it, like in the fucking 1600s, whenever it was. Could you talk a little bit about that, Nathan?
Well, back in the dark ages.
Back in the day, just call me a dumb bitch.
No, I definitely agree with that. I think what Aster does with it is he shows you the extreme and you react to it in a way that it affects you. And I think this person, I don't want to kind of like call them out or anything like that, but I just think this person walked away from both of these films almost offended.
It sounds like that.
As if Aster was out to like demonize people with mental illness, and that's such an unfair thing to say.
Especially these two movies where like those two things are factors, but also like you can't have a movie kind of set in the quote unquote real world and not have
these things.
Exactly, like if in the real world that we live in or whatever like that, if people were out here talking about monsters and demons and all that kind of stuff like that, people would automatically assume like, okay, what's kind of like not ticking correctly in your head. So I think it would be kind of like foolish to ignore that kind of shit in modern times. Because that's kind of like the first thing people would go to. But I also do get, maybe not these movies, because these movies are more about emotion. In a weird way, rather than like with your head. But I think like that is a thing that is happening and has been happening over like the last like, let's say like 100 years in cinema, where it's like the crazy person is used to just kind of be threatening, kind of like be scary
as a scapegoat.
We even get that with like freaks like Todd Browning. It's like differently abled people have always been kind of like
demonized,
like an oddity, which is like ridiculous, you know. And I don't think people actually take that away. I think in most movies like that, you end up feeling bad for the quote unquote villain who has no legs or looks kind of weird or whatever, you know. I think like, but I also think like we're kind of like moving away from that, and like shit changes, you know. It's like 50 years ago the world thought completely differently about anything we think about now. You know, it's like shit evolves and shit changes, you know.
Well, speaking of feeling bad for fucking people, Christian is someone that I just don't feel bad for.
No, fucking hetero
especially
prick.
when Maya fucks with him. Like completely fucks with him, and I mean like,
you want some red lemonade made from my pussy?
Some strawberry lemonade.
I love he looks around and he's like, why is mine red?
And I love that's down to the cinematographer Pavel Pogorzelski. Could be right. And when he does like a simple panning shot can just explain so much in a sentence, or like a simple focus pull can say 1,000 words.
Yeah.
Because that shot where he's handed the pie, it lands on him, then it lands to it fades out from him slightly to the cup, then it fades further out to Maya, then it fades out back to him.
Yeah.
And I think that it says so much, like without even saying anything. And also, it is explained to you, like at the very beginning. I was like,
We
oh,
see,
what's that over there?
Yeah.
And there's like this huge mural of like what she actually does to him.
Yeah, it's her like
It's so great.
It's like a. Oh yeah, we see that later, but then I think it's right when we see the bear. Actually, we go through like one other scroll where it's a blonde girl who like cuts some of her pubic hair off like into a pie and like bakes it and all that kind of stuff. But I love it. This weird kind of little I don't want to say like back and forth, cause, well, he does kind of notice her.
Yeah.
There's a couple of times, and I think she like kicks
her.
him.
Yeah. Or
like things
she
like
kicks
that.
him. Yeah, and then he joins. As well.
Yeah, I love. He's like, can anybody join in? And Pele's like, you're
an
American. Just shove yourself in anyway.
Shove yourself in there.
Yeah.
But also that love ruin as well. Like you full on. Who catch? I think Josh. Josh is the one because he's still awake, and that's the time he sneaks into the barn.
Yeah.
And he notices the Maya, because like she's literally sleeping like directly across from them.
Yeah.
And like she stays up and she carves out a love ruin on, I think it's a piece of wood or a rock.
Yeah,
or
I noticed
something.
that. I also never get a read on her age. She to me
I'd
looks
say,
about
like,
14.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
for somewhere
Latest,
from
I'd
18
say
to
she's
14.
16. I wouldn't say she's any older than that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the vibe that we get. Yeah, I get the vibe that he's like her first, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
that it's like a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just. Yeah, it's really
We see his
awkward.
dick in this movie also.
Huh?
We see Jack Reyner's dick in this movie.
That was actually something that was really interesting to me because he said after watching horror movies and things like that, nearly it was always the female lead that would
Where's
end up
the
naked
cock?
or something like that. And originally, Jack Reyner's character was due to the script to like robe himself again and then run out in panic or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I should stay naked in a panic.
Yeah, like you need
And
to
I
be
was like,
vulnerable.
that makes perfect sense. Because
Exactly,
why
it's
would
like
you
there's
just
a
get up
huge-
and walk away from that over the top, weird
And see, that also made people laugh.
scene? Yeah.
Where it all kind of comes to a head, doesn't it? Just where
Literally pushing his ass.
people laughed at that. People
Yeah,
really
yeah,
thought that was funny, and all the kind of noises. And actually, like there was a couple of parts where people did laugh and I didn't laugh. There's these two scenes are like paired with each other. It's the scene of the shared emotion where Danny is crying and all the women are around her.
Yeah.
I am obsessed with that scene.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
Because she technically walks in on him, but I mean, like, she looks.
Well, they kind of
she
show
walks in.
her. Oh no, yeah, no, she does, and then she like freaks out. But I think it's called kind of like set up.
Yeah, because
in a
like
way.
your one turns around and says, "Oh, that's not for us," or
Yeah.
something like that, and then she just continues walking over.
But it's when they're in the bedroom and she's crying and they're all sharing her emotion. I love it. It's like we're taking a little piece, so it's easier for you to feel. Like we're all taking on the weight of it, so that it's like dispersed around us.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was very trippy.
Yeah, it's cathartic. I think that's a word that you can really use for this film. It's like there's a lot of cathartic moments, especially obviously like that last shot of Danny smiling. Like it's
Good
very,
for her.
It's very cathartic, and it, like my mom always says, like after you cry you feel better. So like that kind of like energy of them sharing that explosive grief that she has,
like they're allowing her to feel it.
Yeah,
she wasn't able to do that before because every
Yeah,
time
and,
she
like,
did
that's
it,
the
it was kind of like a
Yeah.
like you can see that she was kind of choking it back. She didn't want to let it
pushing
out.
deep down. And then like of course, like I said earlier, the editing also cuts away from it as well, so we never get to feel it, which is also a reason why is to think that moment is so powerful.
It is.
Because
It's
we
the
finally
overflow.
get to see like the dam
release.
blow open.
Yeah.
And everything comes
She gets
out.
to feel how she was supposed to feel.
Yeah.
And I think if she was able to, like, that's the thing, this whole movie could have been avoided if she had a better support group at home.
Yeah.
And
But no one cared about her.
no one cared about her. And I guess, like,
Even
again,
her family was just dealing with her sister.
yeah.
And like the focus was never on her.
That's the thing. I think, like, just returning to that point where, like, Donnie's not bipolar. we're not told. I guess you could theorize that if you wanted
She's
to.
also
But like,
a psychology student, which is even crazier to me.
yeah, but like, I mean, like, I know a couple of people who are poli-sci, whatever, some fucking like psych majors or whatever like that, who are crazy. Like, they go into that course to like figure out who they are, not to help other people. But fuck psychologists. No, but yeah, I think if this movie could have been very different if she had like a set of girlfriends at home that she could have also gone to, and her boyfriend and his friends would have gone to Sweden and never come home, and it would have been a completely different story.
Yeah.
But no, I'm obsessed with that because I'm very that kind of person that like I'm very like, if I feel like I'm gonna cry, I'm just gonna cry.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna hide it. I don't care about being embarrassed in public. I'm gonna cry. Or if I'm angry, I'm angry. If I'm happy, I'm happy. I'm very like open with my emotions, and I think generally our friend group is too. And like there have been times where friends have passed away or moved or whatever it is, and we all kind of just gather together and have a big cry about it.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. Because by the end of the night, you're laughing and like whatever. I know, like when one of my friends died, it was me and all the girls or whatever like that, and we all piled up into Emma's attic and just cried about it, and then it literally turned into a party.
Yeah.
You know, I think like your body wants to cry, so just let it cry.
Yeah.
Let it.
It's healthy.
It's
completely healthy.
And it does feel good. I love a good cry.
Yeah.
You know.
That's also something like with when it comes to like Danny being a psychology major and things like that she doesn't notice what Pele is doing to her.
Yeah.
Like I know that Danny, being obviously in the influential relationship with Christian, that she can't see past the fact that he's a gaslighting prick.
He's all she has left.
Exactly.
He's her only option.
And like Pele is the one who is actively doing the cult approach, trying to make her feel needed and loved and wanted. I mean, like,
and held.
Like he literally says that to her, and like because she's a
psychology
major, she doesn't notice it. And like I'm certain that even being a psychology major, cult indoctrination would have been some small part of that. And I know that anthropology is also a part of psychology as well, because that's the teachings and the methods of communities to help each other and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it baffles me that she didn't see it coming. Or
they
that
love
she
who they are, and
didn't,
they will not anthropologize about it.
Yeah. Wow.
That's me clapping, by the way, for myself.
Yeah, it just baffles me how, like, but I suppose because she is so mentally
fragile,
broken down, and like, I mean, she literally has nightmares about everyone jumping into a car and leaving her,
with Mark in the back, kind of like
smiling.
That was creepy.
Yeah, it was creepy.
And then with the black smoke coming out of the mouth,
Yeah.
with the kind of I thought it was great. I thought it was so good.
Yeah.
But like Mark just has a creepy face. He's just
but like he was also in the room
guy.
as Pennywise. He was up for.
I
He
know.
was hired.
I know.
He was actually the one before, and then
We've
he
seen like
left
makeup
the project
tests
or
and stuff.
something.
Yeah,
And then
that actually would have pissed me off. I think like, I think Alexander not Alexander.
Tilda Swinton.
No. Oh wow.
I would have loved to have seen her as it.
I would have fucking loved to see Tilda Swinton as Pennywise. That would have been stunning, especially because like Pennywise is a chick.
Yeah.
People don't know. But like, what's his fucking name? The other one, the other Skarsgård that we were talking about.
Stellan?
No,
The
Stella's
other?
the dad. The one that plays Pennywise.
Alexander.
No, Alexander is from True Blood.
Oh my god. Wow.
I literally have the book in my bag. Like, what a traitor.
Anyway, yeah, that guy.
Yeah, he just seems like, I think he was perfect for it.
Yeah, he was.
I think they could have gone
Method.
to. Well, no, did you know he can actually contort himself like that? He can actually do that. I'm joking. Because this other thing, he can like make his eyes
He
like
can
go
make
apart.
his eyes do that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you know he can also make reality warp around him? What's it? No, we're gonna figure this out. What's his fucking name?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay,
I
no,
don't
it's
know.
gonna piss me off forever now. I'm not gonna be able to think of anything else. Give me
Wow.
like literally 2 seconds.
Well, like there was something else that
Okay, Google, give me the Skarsgård brothers. I said, okay, Google. The Skarsgård brothers, please.
Alexander Skarsgård had 4 brothers: Bill Skarsgård,
Bill.
Gustav
Bill.
Skarsgård, Walter Skarsgård, and Sam Skarsgård.
Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Wow. The level of unprofessionalism.
They could have been any of the Hargers in this movie. They could have... Benny Bjornsson and Mundotter. You know what I mean?
Well, speaking of the Hargers themselves, the one thing I really want to point out is the costuming.
Oh, I love it so much.
It is beautiful. And I found out only today, because I went digging for
They all
lots of
have
shit,
them.
is Andrea Flesh is her last name, it's true.
Is there an eye in there?
Is handmade
Yeah.
cotton, and it was painted by hand, each and every single one of those dresses. So every single dress you see on
They've all got
screen
the runes and everything on
is
them.
like singular. Like there's only one. They're not reproductions of one and then everything else is copied. It's
But yeah, I think
every
everybody
single
still
one of
has them.
different.
I know Florence Pugh, she has her costume at home. She did an Instagram live.
I've
a
seen
couple
that,
years ago.
yeah.
Yeah, that was really cute. And she like finagled it together and like had all the flowers in her hair now.
Yeah.
I have a pair of shorts like that as well that I
that you
embroidered
embroidered.
the rune
Yeah,
on the back
yeah.
of. I think for like, I forget what the fucking symbol is, but like the aesthetic of this, like it doesn't look like a horror movie.
It doesn't. It's meant
It's
to
warm and inviting and
like everything is. I don't want to say it's done off screen because obviously you do see Josh's murder, Christian's murder, and all of that kind of thing. But everything else happens off screen. So like Mark's death, you never see. She's
Mark
gonna
just
show me
disappears.
something.
yeah.
Oh no! It's just like I
Because
will
he
show you.
gets he
and
gets
then
the
he
same
just
thing.
goes,
He gets the kind
"Oh,
of tap on the shoulder,
she's gonna show me.
and he's gone.
And then he's gone. He's never
just
seen
disappears.
again.
And
And
same
then
with Connie
Connie-
and Simon.
Simon, yes. I mean,
Well, there's a
Simon-
deleted. I think it's a deleted scene. We got somebody saying like, "Oh, she must have been practicing for the Olympics earlier," which means that she
Yes.
was running, and I love that line
Yeah.
because it's the idea of like,
And you can hear her scream.
yeah,
Twice.
it's the idea of like horror in the background,
Mhm.
and yeah, like nobody noticed that, which is
Yeah.
really scary. And then of course we find Simon, Blood
Eagle.
Eagle. Oh,
Yeah.
it's so good.
Which, for example,
He's still alive.
he's still alive.
He's
yeah,
breathing.
The lungs are set, and like apparently
He's got the flowers in the eyes and all.
like people read that as like it was just Christian tripping, but no, he's
still
in the
alive.
script. He's still alive,
Yeah.
and the Blood Eagle, for context, in case anyone doesn't actually know, it is an original Norse torture method.
Yeah.
It is an execution,
And like a degradation
but a
kind of
very
thing.
very slow one.
It's-
You don't die.
The result
from a
is
Blood
beautiful.
Eagle.
The result is like stunning looking in terms of like art, like
Yeah.
but obviously not like in real life.
So
Well, no,
they-
it's like you have to admit some deaths are beautiful. Crucifixion is a fabulous way to go out.
Oh my god. Very Christian of you. Very Christian.
Crucifixion for spring,
Groundbreaking.
groundbreaking. Yeah,
A Blood Eagle is where a victim is tied down. Their back muscles are ripped open, and then their lungs are pulled through to make
the
it
ribs are
look like a
broken
pair of
outwards.
wings.
Yeah, to be like an eagle's wings. The ribs are all broken outwards, apart from the spine,
Yeah.
and folded out. And then you have. I'm saying this with a huge smile on my face.
Yeah,
What a
yeah.
freak! But like no, but also like I love
We like gruesome shit.
yeah, and like kind of like Norse mythology. And,
Horrible histories.
but like the result is gorgeous, and again we get another kind of another instance of male nudity. We see like 3
Yes.
out of 4 guys as 6 in
Dicks.
this movie,
Yeah.
and like that sounds like me being like a little like dick pig as usual, but like I really like the idea that we're kind of like because like
Flipping
there
the
was
script.
exactly
Yeah.
it's like
Male nudity.
yeah, get it on screen.
Mhm.
Like, what the fuck?
Mhm.
You know, like, there was kind of a moment in time where we get, like, kind of grindhousey movies where we see, like, dicks and cock, but where we get kind of everybody is naked equally.
Yeah.
We get, like, Caligula and shit like that where everybody is
All
just
the
naked.
exploitation, yeah,
But
yeah.
I want to see more, like, stuff like that, because, like,
Yeah.
to me, in a horror movie, nudeness means, like, fragility. It means you have no protection. That's why,
Yeah.
like,
You're
a lot of the time.
exposed.
Exactly, and I feel like that's why a lot of the time people kind of criticize the genre for being misogynist, because it's nearly exclusively women that are whatever.
Yeah.
Even though women are nearly always the last ones left alive, which
There
again is
usually always female
misogyny by not letting them die.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's why people were so obsessed with Fury Road, was because like then women got to be cannon fodder and they got to die the same way men were.
Yeah.
You know,
which I
but I
agree
like
with,
the idea
'cause
that
that's
men,
equality. Like
it
women
is,
do die, so
you
like,
know, and like they don't die in like a typically
it's
like
misogyny if women don't die because it was a male writer. Or,
exactly.
you know
It's
what I
like
mean?
it's all okay for everybody, or none of it is okay.
Yeah.
But I love seeing this, that we see like men being fragile, and that's the thing. Even though I don't like Christian at all, even though we're supposed to hate him, he's supposed to be kind of the piece of shit in the movie, even over the cult leaders or over the cult members. You do feel bad for him just because he is fragile, because and I think a huge part of that, like you said earlier, has to do with him being completely nude for the entire scene. And
he's also still kind of half erect while
he's
he's
standing
running
full
around.
mast.
Yeah.
There's that dick is not squish.
But
Irish
also
actor,
that
by the way,
scene,
Jack Reyner.
like the way you
Come
were
on, Forrest
describing that scene, that whole like because it is technically
You're gonna fuck this girl and you're gonna get her pregnant. Thanks.
it is technically male rape.
I guess so, yeah.
Because it can be viewed, not me, but I choose to see it as it is male rape, because he is drugged up and then he's continuously drugged up and then he's forced into the room. He's like, go in there now, stay in there until the deed is done, and then he runs away from it. So like, in my opinion, it can be like, it is walking a very thin line, but again, if it was the other way around, you wouldn't see it any other way. You know what I mean?
I don't know, but again,
That's misogyny at its finest.
yeah. I
So,
think it's weird because I think
like that's towing a very fine line of either it's all okay or none of it's okay. You know what I'm saying? Like that's walking a very thin
well, see,
line.
to me though, like genuinely, I don't think it would have been different if she was a girl or if he was a girl. I think that like,
if Danny was a man,
well, no, it's
and
just
Christian was Christy. Yeah.
no, genuinely, I think like, it's just because he seems into it before the drugging. Like technically, he is drugged and then has
He's
sex with
drugged
her.
further.
Yeah.
Because he's drugged twice. At the maypole dance, he's and then and then the thing, like he says, like breathe in, and I know his head isn't forced down into that bowl, but like it's still the same principle. So
well,
like,
no, because
you
the
know,
principle is where you're forced or where you're not forced.
True.
Because the
But
difference,
again, it's
but the difference
walking
between
a
forced
very
and
thin
not
line.
forced is the difference between rape and not rape.
Yeah, true.
But no, I think like a lot of it is I think that he was into her anyway before the fact. That doesn't mean that doesn't mean that he couldn't have been raped. I'm not saying that like what happened to him isn't bad. I just think that he deserves it. Oh, death to all of them. No, but no, I think like I don't know why this movie in particular has people so pissed.
Forms
where they're like,
divide.
where they're like, oh, but he's been. Do you know what I think it is? I think it's because gender has been kind of like shoved onto this movie really hard, where it's now seen as like, do you hate women or do you support Christian in this movie? You know, and I hate women. No, I'm joking. I don't know. There's just a part of me that wants to see people who are shitty get their comeuppance, even if it's extreme. Do I think Miss Desjardins in Carrie deserved to be chopped in half by a basketball thing? No, but I fucking loved it because it was cool. You know, I'm like, I don't come in. I'm maybe one of those fucking sadists that like, oh god, I'm about to expose myself as a psychopath. I'm one of those that it's more interested in the killer or more interested in the villain in a movie. I don't really identify with victims in horror movies and stuff like that because I know they're there just for fodder. They're there just to be
it's the whole point.
Strung up on a rack. But with this, I don't know. I was just like, fuck this guy. Like, I don't care what they want to do to him. Like, fuck this guy. And I kind of knew that it was going to be bad because we saw these people just be kind of generally dicks. Maybe Mark deserved just as much as Christian. Because I think Mark was like kind of an antagonist to Danny, even more so than Christian was, like an active one.
And also Josh
helped her a little bit.
Ignored her.
Yeah.
Like the only
Except for the one
way-
time she asked him specifically for help for the sleeping pill.
The sleeping pill.
But that was the
other
only
than
time.
That, like he doesn't interact with her unless it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
Which again, like, just proves the point that he was incredibly self-absorbed.
Yeah.
In what he was doing. Again,
I
like
feel
all
bad
the
'cause,
men
like,
were
Danny
dickheads,
was-
but like.
But Danny was also thrust upon them, you know?
Yeah.
Again, because of Christian.
Yeah.
You know? And then Christian trying to steal his fucking thesis.
Yeah, that's also the other dick move. I was
You're
just
a
gonna
piece
say.
of shit.
Yeah.
I don't care. You're supposed
I
to be
love
my
the way
friend.
he uses that as a technicality because Josh was going to just do Midsummer Traditions and he makes a point of saying, yeah, but you're going to Germany next
And
and
England,
then
yeah.
you're going to England. And I thought, that's such a shitty
so
thing
slimy.
to do because that's literally just like swinging around and saying, well, I'm doing the same
Technically.
thing. Technically, it's not the same.
And then he's like,
it's
oh,
the
but if you're
same."
open to collaborate, I'm open. And I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah.
And I love Josh is like, I'm even kind of impressed at how bold you're being right now.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I would kill somebody.
It's like just
I would kill somebody. No, I
it's just
hate that.
completely it's the epitome of stealing someone's thunder.
It is, and it's so
it really
lazy as well.
is.
It's like you're only going to do it just because you're here now.
Yeah.
You know?
And,
And
like,
I love
he
that
was
he's like,
forcing
you
him
don't
at
have
the
your own
beginning.
love and you don't have your own passions. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like, and that's the thing, is like Christian to me is very much so like just like mediocre, like white bread, like just plain.
Vanilla.
Very boring.
Yeah.
Very boring.
He even said that at the beginning. Like Josh said like that even just again it just like completely confirms that like Josh was just as much an asshole as anyone.
Yeah.
That like he literally said Danny was a distraction from
Which
you doing
she-
your thesis.
But which she is,
Technically
because
she
he's like,
is,
you have all this
but
other work
that's
to be
such a
doing.
dickheaded thing to say.
I know,
Especially
but
because you're
it's-
not part of the relationship. Like,
I know,
how
but
could
I
you
think it's
be
so much
that?
worse on like Mark's on Mark's half, where he's like, yeah, maybe if you fucking like dump her, she'll find somebody who actually likes sex and all this kind of stuff like that, just
Yeah.
chatting shit. And
I
again,
love
like,
the way the boobs are also hanging over Christian. Did you notice that?
Over
There's
which?
a photograph of a woman, and all you see is her neck down to her chest, and it's a very tight t-shirt over a rack. And I was like, oh god. But like just over that whole scene, there's just
Yeah.
this. Like,
oh no,
headless
no, it's literally it's
breasts
no.
hanging
Do you know
over
who it
him.
is? That's Jane Mansfield and Sophie Loren.
Wow.
It's a famous shot of, I actually remembered it just there, of Jane Mansfield like this and Sophie Loren kind of like
Oh yeah.
turning
like,
back at
looking
her,
over, like,
because Jane Mansfield is
yeah.
in like she's in pastel pink and she's got like these huge tits, and Sophie Loren is like just off to the side, kind of like judging the shit out of her. I forgot that. That's a really really famous photo actually.
like yeah.
Jane Mansfield, famous beheading victim.
But I know that once Danny like really starts to like, because obviously I mean she wins the May Queen thing and
And
she's
I love it. That whole scene
hallucinating
to me is very
things.
sweet.
It is. It's really.
It's
good.
where they're
Like,
singing.
I love that jazz hands.
Yeah, it,
Finger
like,
finger claps. Everybody.
the whole thing just seemed like a deaf people clapping.
Deaf people clapping. Yeah.
Can you hear us? I didn't think so, but they don't mind. They don't listen. But
Oh my god. We're leaving subtitles.
what, I can make a visual joke about a blind person if I want to, because they won't mind. It's always okay to steal food from an anorexic, 'cause they don't care. But no, I love that scene, and for some reason, again, it just gives me like all the fucking acid flashbacks that I want in my life, where like she suddenly can just like understand Swedish, even though it's kind of gibberish.
Swedish.
Oh no, I loved it, and like Lena even turned to me when we were watching this. She was like, "That's you and Emma," because it is. It's just this idea of like, this doesn't make sense at all, but you understand.
Yeah.
You're just blah, blah, blah. Like, they might as well have just. I think they were speaking gibberish.
She speaks gibberish.
And
The
they, like-
Swedish girl responds in Swedish. Yeah.
But I love it, and then like
Or at least in
Danny's like happy, and she's like smiling, and it's kind of the first time she's like separated.
Legitimately seems
Happy.
content and happy.
Because I think this kind of comes after a point where she's separates from the guys, and she goes off to go into the kitchen with the ladies and kind of make bread and the pies and stuff like that. And she starts to kind of like, oh, okay, there is kind of like community, or like people aren't.
I also love that physical transition. Like her clothes go from really really dark to brighter
Yeah,
clothes, and
the
then
white.
eventually white. Yeah, because it starts with the apron.
Yeah.
And then it gradually transitions to like a light, I think it's a light grey top, then a light blue
Yeah,
top.
all the
and then it's
dudes, like
white.
their whole group, like the Americans that come in, they're all wearing like navy and like dark maroons, very kind of like just black color.
Yeah.
It's like very boring. And then they kind of turn to this like brilliant white. And one thing I noticed about the costumes last night, it probably means nothing, but I was kind of curious. Where I was like, some of them have red stitching and embroidery or red
Some
kind
of
of
them
symbols.
have specific runes.
Yeah, and then
catered
some
to them.
are blue. But I was like, does something with red mean anything? Because the girl, what's her name again, with the red hair? Maya. She
wears almost exclusively white and red. Yeah.
White and red, yeah, those are her kind of things together. So I was like, what does that mean? Because I
Maybe
think there's a whole lot of
that
operation.
life cycle thing.
Exactly, I think there's a whole lot of like operation going on that we're not seeing, and I have in my mind that Ari Aster like knows like the timetable and schedule of this village and just kind of plants everybody in.
Yeah.
Because there's so many little traditions I love in this. Where when we first get here, when they're panning across, the music is in scene. They're actually playing the flutes or whatever, or the women walking backwards picking the flowers and stuff.
Yeah.
I love.
Or the people doing that weird kind of morning yoga thing.
Yeah, I loved it. I was
and
obsessed.
then that like weird thing that with all the mothers standing next to the baby.
Yeah.
Like you know, while Danny is like. Christian's like literally trying to keep the flame between them alive on that cake, and like they're just standing in the
She's
background
like, it's fine
with the baby.
It's fine.
Yeah.
And he did forget. This
And
is
it
not
also-
even
that's
cake. You
another
bring me a
thing.
piece of bread with a candle in it.
They cut away from that as well. As soon as she, like, it cuts away before she exhales.
And he's
like,
not even
it's-
looking at her. I noticed he's kind of like looking off, and she like goes to blow it out. Yeah, and they cut away from it.
I just think like there's so many, and then there's also this one where I noticed like. When Mark and I think it's Josh goes over to Pele and he's in the garden, and in the background there's these people singing, and then there's a wooden horse.
Yeah.
And they chop down. It's either a horse or it's a wooden like representation of a cow maybe or something, and then they just chop it down the middle, and then they pick up and walk away. I like there's so many things going on in the background that no one notices.
And I really appreciate Ari Aster for that. I've been saying that for like years. It's like there is always something really appealing to me with something going on in the background, and like it's so stupid. This movie is so lame. Remember Urban Legend? Like I actually like that movie because it's kind of like it is like a small bastardization of Scream or whatever. But like there's a scene with Tara Reid, and she's in the radio station.
Yeah.
And she's like on air and she's talking about whatever like that, and all the horror is happening like a room or two over.
Yeah.
You could see, or like they did the same thing in Halloween, the most recent Halloween, where the mechanics getting smashed up to bits, but like in the far background where you might not ever even notice it. I love things like that.
Yeah.
And this kind of like this movie really has like a lot of those little things, like hearing that Connie was practicing for the Olympics, so somebody saw her running.
Yeah.
So she was being chased like during the day at some point. I love all that.
There's a lot of like hidden things, like
It's so sinister.
It's that thing where when Dani has like completed her transformation to becoming the May Queen, and she's on top of that dais thing that they're lifting, and I love the fact that like they're all walking away like singing, and deaf people clap, and Jack Reyner, Christian is like left on his own.
Irish actor, by
and
the way.
this is the part that he's like he begins to become that pathetic
slug.
Yeah, like he's like he's like I almost see it as like he wanted to be the center of attention, and now he's no longer that, and he's realizing
you can definitely see that their kind of energies swap, because
Yeah.
she becomes like she's smiling and she's joyous, and he's kind of sitting there like off to the
Sulking.
side, still in those same clothes. He doesn't ever change into
anything else, Yeah.
except for I think at the end where he gets I think he gets one of the things, but that's like as he's getting put into the bear. Yeah, I love the kind of flip, and this is where we start to get to the like good for her kind of portion in the movie.
Yeah.
And we see like she gets this is like before she gets the flower slug, where she just has the crown, and like you can start her mom and stuff are like in the crowd.
Yeah, she hallucinates.
She runs
them,
past her mom
and her dad. Her
and her
dad is
dad
there as well. Yeah.
and the sister up in the bushes.
She's like, I don't know whether it was like was she superimposed onto the leaves, or whether that was painted in afterwards. Or...
I think so. It's one of those things. It's like, again, it's very hard to describe. It's like you can like with like acid or like any hallucinogens. It's like I could be looking at this wood grain, right, and I could see a whole ass image there. It's like they somehow managed to perfectly, like warp the leaves and warp the trees into looking like her, but not having it be obvious enough that
I
people
never
didn't
noticed
see
it until someone. I think you pointed it out to me, and I was like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah, when I saw it, I literally grabbed Lena's arm and she couldn't get it because it was already gone. It was already moved on to the next. But like, it's the sister's face with it was the eyes that I noticed first because I was like, "Whoa," and then I was like, "Wait, I have to watch this movie again." Because I want to see if there's more of that in the background. But it's the sister's face with the pipe coming out of her mouth that leads all the way up to where Danny is going.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a... I don't know. There's a lot that could be read in there. I feel like we're not like this episode is already like 2.5 hours long. If we get into every single little like minute detail, we'll be here forever. But like, I loved that, and then the flower pulsating.
That pink kind of pulsating flower. It's either
that's symbolic.
It's either symbolic of womanhood or
Vagina.
It's just like because every time she breathes, it opens and closes.
She's blossoming.
So like it's like it's reacting to her breath.
Yeah.
And like the same thing with the leaves when she like caresses her hand along the kind
she
of
got the
throne.
grass through her
She's
hands
at the
too.
seat of the table.
Oh yeah.
And like all the leaves like reach up to touch her her arm.
Well,
and
I
it's
got
just
it
so
that like
interesting.
because it only happens when she sees Pele. I think Pele gives her like a little like, and then he like gives her like a proper like a kiss,
like a full
and
on.
the flower starts to open and bloom and pulse. I take that as very
like
literal,
she's
like
ready to
very.
go.
She's got a wide on.
Yeah.
I take that as like very much so vaginal.
Yeah.
Oh god, I just loved it, and like then we get the kind of we get to see our May Queen in the slug outfit.
Yeah.
Which I think is
Which
just
I love.
it's the icon of the movie
It's
is
beautiful.
this slug dress, and like I think it took over like 10,000 silk organza flowers and all that kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of people do some like kind of decent recreations with like fake flowers but I'm like, no bro, like we have an actual count of how many flowers were used on this. Everything is going to be a letdown. And a couple of, I think last year at some point, I think it was like
Made
kind of
by
at the start.
Andrea Flash, should say, and her husband, who is actually a sculptor, and he sculpted kind of like the hoop form of that dress, and then she obviously just like covered it in flowers and designed what was going on top. But just props are due.
It was stunning.
Great. Yeah.
And, like that's the thing. It is kind of odd to see something that's like conventionally stunning in a horror movie. Because like I said, like I was admiring the blood eagle. I thought that was pretty, even though it's literally
And covered in
lungs.
flowers, and his eyes are
Stuck in flowers.
Sunflowers, I think.
Yeah, he's
I'm
got
not
like
sure.
flowers like stuck into his eyes.
Yeah.
And we see, I think there's a scene right around here where we see one of Josh's feet like sticking up out of a
Yes,
out of a
he's
flower
like
plant.
buried.
We don't even see
head
what happens to
first
him.
down into the earth.
He's-
Yeah.
I think Connie and Simon I think Connie was drowned.
Connie was drowned. She
Yeah.
was. There's a deleted scene in the director's cut where they go to the river at nighttime.
Yeah, and Maya is
And-
going to get drowned also, I think.
And Maya is wearing this. I want to say it's almost a Christmas tree, kind of like.
Yeah.
It's a Christmas tree, but it looks like it's got cross
like a ghillie
sections
suit.
of chainmail with all these kind of religious icons on it.
Yeah,
And she's given a rock to
like weigh herself down.
weigh herself down and drown. So I'm guessing what happened is, obviously once you see that scene, what happens to Connie is obvious. She was forcibly drowned in the lake, and she was the sacrifice for
Instead
that.
of Maya.
And
And I
just
actually
makes sense.
prefer this movie. Sorry, I just put my hand up to you like that. I prefer this movie without the director's cut. I think the director's cut makes it just a little too tedious.
Yeah,
And I
there's-
like a long movie, but I think like there's so much to take in. And when I say tedious, it's not like they had an hour extra of footage. I think like I
There was
get
scenes
enough
that-
from what I want from just the regular cinematic cut.
Yeah.
I think
Agree.
think the director's cut almost complicates things.
Yeah, I think it adds. There's only I think 2, maybe 3 scenes that it adds into it, but like you're looking at it and you're like, it's sort of like it sort of adds like an unwanted, or not an unwanted, like, because I'm always happy to watch more Ari Aster,
Yeah.
but it's an unneeded extra. The only scene I can think that I really do appreciate was the part. It's like literally following that nighttime river scene of the Maya about to being sacrificed, and then obviously Danny intervenes.
Yeah.
But what happens is Christian confronts Danny about her frustrations. And this is the only time where Danny actually slightly stands up for herself, and he goes, we just need to accept it, we need to be culturally sensitive, and we need to acclimate. And she goes, I don't want to acclimate, I just want to go. And this is, I can understand why it was cut out, specifically because we have to empathize with Danny, and if Danny wants to leave, then we don't have a story.
Like, you want her to be vulnerable the entire time.
Exactly, and you want to be on her side and everything by the end of it and things like that. So I love that scene.
Yeah, I think it serves it better.
It's unwanted for the purposes of sticking with Danny.
Yeah, like, I like the idea of the emotional release being kind of not sudden, but I like the idea of the being when she's crying with all the women. I like that being like
that's where we
kind of
see it. It's like cements your emotions with her, you know. So
here we get into the actual controversy / debate,
the ending.
Okay, you tell me why you think you're right.
Okay, no, I don't think I'm right. I just don't.
Yeah, what's your?
I don't agree with the whole good for her thing, because, and again, like, you've made the point that it's just a movie, so like it doesn't really matter anyway. It's not a fucking documentary, like you were saying. But I do think, based off of, if you were to base it in real life, it is morally inexcusable. However, being pressured, obviously, because if she didn't choose, like, she would probably go up on the chopping block. But thematically, it is explainable. It's totally explainable.
Yeah,
it shouldn't be celebrated as a good for her moment, in my opinion.
In your opinion?
In my opinion.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be celebrated as a good for her moment, because she is condemning a disabled rape victim to a horrible fate. And like, the movie isn't saying it's right. It's just, or it's asking you to accept it.
Yeah.
Because it is ambiguous as to, like, you know, how it did, because you don't actually see her picking him, but it's suggested that it is. And like, when it does kind of come to the point of obviously being in a bear costume and like getting burned or whatever, you do have that, like, you know, sense that, like, yeah, good for her, because it is right. But like, morally, if I was to look at it, I'd be like, it's wrong.
I don't know
he may
what
be a
it
prick.
is.
He may
Why
be
do
an evil cunt, but he, like, you know, he just, it's only because there's an emotional standpoint to it that you've built up until this point. But like,
he's also the reason everything in this movie happens.
No, I understand that. And I also actually come to
like,
think of it, he sells out his friends when the Reuben Rodney goes missing. Well, obviously, like, it's just the cult members, like, fucking with them because they know what happened to it. But like, he's
a rat.
He's
not even a rat.
Like, we're not even friends with him. Like, we don't associate with him.
Yeah,
or
he's just a
whatever.
weasel.
Like, are you fucking kidding me?
But like, he's the only reason Danny is there.
Yeah.
Even at the start, where he's kind of blaming Danny for her sister's behavior. He also tells her to give up and stop trying.
Yeah.
Because she just does this anyway, and that giving
it's
up.
It's like encouraging Terry to continuously. I don't want to say attention seek, but it is these cries for help, frighten and terrify Danny.
Yeah, and he's basically like, get over it. She's just going to do it regardless.
Exactly, she's just going to do it again and again. And
so to me, he's like, he's the negative force in this movie. Like, I understand, like they're a cult, they're like quote unquote bad, but it's
they're
like
manipulating the whole thing.
I know.
Like, if they weren't there, would have Danny still turned around and said, no, fuck him, throw him in the fire? I don't think so.
But she wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for him.
No, but what I mean is, like, if the cult wasn't standing over practically, you know, saying, like, if you don't choose, you're most likely going to get the chop. You know,
chop. Sorry.
Do you know what I mean? Like, there's also the circumstance of, you know,
no, I
the
don't think
mallet
so.
is hanging over her head.
Well, no, I actually don't read it as that, because it's the fact that she wins May Queen, which makes me think like, okay,
she's a circumstance.
Yeah, she's safe. Like, nothing can happen to her. I don't think they ever would have killed her after she became May Queen, because she's the May Queen. This is not the Wicker Man, run. Like you don't sacrifice
Run,
anybody.
Morrison.
But I basically just look at this in the same way that I look at Carrie, or I look at fucking like anybody who's ever gotten revenge, because to me it seems like she has nothing left at the end of this, because even the people closest to her are people that don't even like her, and she's left without even that. So I'm like, okay, she now has a community that fully embraced her just off the jump.
Yeah.
And they support her. She's got Pele who can make her feel held. There's people who understand her emotions. There's people that actually want her there.
Mm-hmm.
And I get this sense that she feels like a sense of being part of the community and feeling wanted and feeling needed and feeling
held.
important.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
however, I would also slightly disagree with that, and I will use Aster's own words here. He said that Danny's catharsis is wrong. He said he wouldn't explain why, but he said Danny's catharsis is wrong. And the way I read into that is Danny thinks she's happy and she's found a family, but this whole movie is a textbook example of how cults take advantage.
Oh, it is.
Of
It's the same.
emotionally
It's the
vulnerable
same
people,
happiness that.
you know.
It's the same happiness that.
And if you feel excluded, you're gone. You're on your own. And
I actually have a
being
quote that I
shunned.
want to say just before we cut off here, but it's the same happiness that. Oh, what's her fucking name again? It's the same happiness that Thomasin feels at the end of The Witch,
yes.
where it's kind of like, is she happy or has she just snapped and lost it?
Yeah.
But also, like, to me, I'm like, this is the best situation that could have come out of this, and I think, like, she's the queen. Like, she is as safe as she's kind of probably ever going to be in this cult, or even back home, because if she goes back home, she doesn't have anybody.
Yes.
Besides that literal one friend that we never even see. And she's got Pele who actually loves her, and I think, like, again, I don't know why people really look at this with, like, a weird moral kind of compass. I'm not even saying you, but, like, obviously I'm, like, kind of arguing the other point, where it's like, but nobody ever gave a fuck, a Scream quote, nobody ever asked why Hannibal Lecter liked to eat people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or, like, sometimes shit just is the way it is, because it's a movie, you know?
Yeah.
I think, like...
Well, I
her.
would agree with you.
I am very just good for her.
Like, again, I actually, like, as much as I'm trying to, like, slightly defend my side of I actually don't care, because, like you said, it's a movie. It didn't actually happen. So, like, I don't really give a fuck. But, again, like, you're just emotionally invested so much in Danny that you can see it as a good for her moment. But you also still have to remember that, like, it is choosing murder. But it also is Aster saying, like, it's a form of wish fulfillment for him in the worst way possible, because he was going through the same kind of almost traumatic breakup in a less
intense way.
You know? So, like,
But
it does explain how the ending is what
I get,
it
like,
is.
it is all deceit and stuff like that, and, like, the good for her thing is, like, mostly a joke, but, like, also, like, kind of, again, like, it's kind of the best result she could have hoped for by being there. But we even get at the end that, like, the cult are like lying to their own people as well, where they're like, here, have the root of whatever, and you don't feel anything, and they feel everything. You know? But I think, like, so, like, essentially these people are like a death worshipping cult. Like, everything is kind of about death, like, kind of not even about birth. So at the end, I get that, like, these people are going in, like, willingly, I guess, but, like, Christian is the only one that, like, well, no, because Mark is also there. Mark is the fool. They sew his ass up in a bear. It's so good, though, because they drug the fuck out of him, and then he's like, we see the bear, we get a reason for the bear being there. It's on my bag.
We're just not going to talk about the bear. It's a bear.
It's a bear. And they sew him up inside this bear while he's still alive.
I always imagined they cut his legs off. Because
he won't be able to fit in there,
he wouldn't be able to fit into it. So I imagine that he's just a stump.
Yeah, just a head on a body.
Just his torso and
Google
head.
Gobble, one of
That's all I imagine when he's placed into that thing, is they cut off his legs and arms and they stuck him into it.
Boo!
No. I don't care about it.
No, it just makes it all the worse.
Like, I can just imagine him, like,
Well, yeah, because like the
looking
shot is
around
literally
and,
him
like,
just kind of
his arms are just like very, you know, green inferno, like
yeah, just gone clean.
gone, and he's like shoved into this thing, and he's
love
put
it.
into the fire temple. Can I just say, Bobby Krilic, the music, the composer
Yeah.
of this thing. Now, the crescendo that this fucking film hits by the time that fucking thing goes up in flames, and like Danny is like May Queen slugging it out all around the
And
place.
she's coughing her fucking lungs
Beautiful
up.
bells and trumpets, almost like Payman-esque,
Yeah.
but like it's beautiful.
Yeah,
It's
it kind of got me like,
absolutely
is Colin
beautiful.
Stetson on this? But no.
Yeah, it is. I thought it was absolutely huge, and it's a beautiful piece of music. If you get the chance, guys, listen to the soundtrack, because it is a beautiful thing, and it's not one of those horror movie soundtracks where you get like, if you've ever listened to the It soundtrack, it's a lot
It's
of
immediately a horror movie.
and
yeah.
then it goes quiet for 30 seconds, and then the music starts again.
Yeah.
This film just has beautiful music the
You
whole
could
way
have this
through it,
playing in a
and you'd love
garden.
it.
Like this
It's
could be like
beautiful.
picnic music.
It is.
And, like, this movie
it
is-
definitely is.
This movie is a horror movie dressed up as Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's dressed up, and like all kind of horror movies, I guess, are some way, shape, or form a fairy tale. You know,
Gone
'cause
wrong.
fairy tales are just kind of like morality tales, just kind
Yeah.
of dressed up in a cool, fantastical, easier to understand way, which is weird because you have to make things up. You know, I say just be honest about your kids. Look, the world is shit. It's never gonna get any worse. You only get taller. And sometimes that doesn't even happen. You only get taller and have
I
to
just get
spend more
wider.
money.
I'm not likely to grow any taller. I just
Yeah,
get
and you
wider.
can't possibly get any older. So
I mean, the only place after this is death. I might as well commit to
Again.
Stupa now.
Yeah. Again, yeah.
Yeah. You know, props to you, Mama. Ari Aster. You know, we said it before. We worship at the altar. You know. So, yeah,
That was Midsommar.
Midsommar, man. Love it.
Skål!
Skål! And happy Midsummer.
I know, for real, I highly recommend this movie.
Yeah.
Although
Me too.
I think like if you've seen Hereditary, if you like Hereditary, you'll like this.
Yes.
They're not the same flavor, but like they're made by the same brand. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, the detail is still there though.
Yeah.
The intricacy, the acting level, the beautiful sets, the cinematography, everything is still there. It's just tonally, it's just different.
It's just
not
Hereditary
as
with the lights
frightening.
on.
It's Hereditary with the lights on. You can see everything that's happening. Well,
Yeah.
most of what everything is happening. And there are two versions, like I said. So there's the theatrical cut, and then there's the director's cut, which is
But also
like
it's
half
hard
an
to-
hour longer or something.
And it's hard to get as well. It's
Yeah, it
also
is.
expensive. But the
It
book,
is.
the set that it
you
comes
can
in,
get yourself a script.
it's
which is great.
so gorgeous. You've seen it.
Yeah, I
And
love those. I would buy them. They're beautiful.
Yeah. No,
So-
I love the set that comes in, but I don't feel like if you want more, the option is there. But I think
Yeah.
if you just watch the cinematic cut,
You'd be happy with it.
yeah, and
Yeah.
largely, I mean, like we called out when we were talking about the director's cut, so everything we've talked about today has been
Yeah, like if you were to only ever watch the theatrical cut,
that's the movie
like,
people are talking about.
That's the movie. Like, when you have the director's cut, like, there's nothing that was cut out that is, like, important to the plot, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like it doesn't change it up.
It doesn't change it at all. It doesn't, because, like,
No,
everything
I mean,
will
like
lead to the same
yeah, no,
thing.
the plot doesn't change,
Yeah.
but we get kind of it's just we take a different path to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's still great. Like, no matter which one you watch, it's still great. Definitely recommend. We will always be A24 fans. We will
Yeah.
always be Aster fans. We have hugely high expectations.
Actually, I said to you the other
I love
day,
it.
I want to review a High Life with Robert Pattinson. I had heard about the movie, and then I had found out that Robert Pattinson was in it, and then like 2 days ago, I found out that it was an A24 movie. And Mia Goth is also in it. She was.
Ooh, I like a bit of Mia Goth.
I love Mia Goth. Yeah.
I like
I
that.
remember when we went to go see Suspiria when I was like waiting in line for like a drink or whatever like that, and two dudes behind me were obsessing over Mia Goth. Like two like older dudes were like, yeah, I loved her. And what is it? A Cure for Wellness.
Yeah.
They were just gushing
With
over
the
her and shit
younger
like that.
Skarsgård kid.
Yeah. Fucking hell, I love her though.
She's great.
I saw a scene with her in it that was like pretty gnarly, so I was like, fuck, we gotta watch this movie.
Yeah, that's it. So next week, what do you got for me?
One of my favorite, like, anything that's ever existed. One of my favorite movies. It's gonna be a long one. I'm gonna nerd out. We got Steven Spielberg's 1975 classic Jaws.
Ooh, I'm excited for this because we have the anniversary this month, right? Wasn't it? I think it was last week or the week before. 100%.
Oh no, I think it is next week. It's like June 22nd or something like that.
Oh,
or
okay.
July
Cool.
Do you know how I know? I know how old my uncle is because he was born the same like summer as Jaws.
Oh wow, I love that. And you know what also made me think is like the fact that Spielberg was only 26.
26
when he directed this, and I'm like, what the
Pisses
fuck
me
have I
off.
done with goddamn? I'm 27, and god fucking damn, what have I done with my life at this point? A blockbuster.
And we're gonna have kind of a unique perspective. I have read the book, you have not, so we'll get kind of two angles.
Yeah.
You know, I'll be able to like fill in some of the gaps.
Yeah.
The real villain is capitalism. It really is. It really is.
Yeah, because also isn't the mayor like afraid to like close the town?
The
because,
mayor is
like,
under
the
huge
sharks-
pressures.
Like the literal like mafia sharks or something.
Literally.
Yeah.
But like literally the shark is supposed to be like
The
a
least of the
metaphor for
problems.
capitalism and how it can ruin small towns and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So Jaws,
So
I don't even know if we
it's
said
gonna
that.
be great. It's a shark movie. It's awesome.
the shark
I love this movie. Can't wait to talk about it. It's gonna be great fun.
I think it's like to me like as close to a perfect film as you can get.
Yes.
They showed just enough, they held just enough back, and yeah, just hugely influential.
Yeah. All right.
I want to marry Shark.
So, without further ado, you've been listening to They're Here.
I'm here and he's there. So stupid.
Podcast.
Podcast. Yeah.
So make sure to, of course, like, subscribe, comment below if you have any film recommendations, topic discussion episodes. We want to hear what you want to have to say. Whether you liked, disliked, or were just meh about this episode, let us know.
Give us attention.
Give us attention, let us know. And then, of course, follow us on Instagram for some daily content updates and bit of fun. And also, of course, like at the end of every month, you will get to decide what we do on the slab. So
yeah, half
it'll
of
be a
our
bit of fun.
content is left up to you freaks.
Yeah, love it. So yeah,
Okay, thanks guys. Unpleasant dreams.
God, I love it.